All righty. Well, hail rat. Welcome to the Mack and Black podcast. They call me, the government knows me as Nick Russell, but my friends know me as El Oso Negro. But everyone that watches this podcast know me as Black. And then over here, the government know him as Maher Ayu. Mm-hmm. But, the people that listen to this podcast know him as Mac.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Technically, since the first day we met in school,
true.
I've only known you as Mac.
That caught on a long time ago.
I am not calling you by your whole first name.
No, we can't do that.
Yeah,
no,
hell no.
It's too late.
So I was thinking, right? So on my way in today, minus the idiots at both toll booths for me to get up here, I was listening to some R&B. Now, this has been on my mind this entire day. Before we start jumping into this thing we call sports, I'm going to go ahead and kind of loosen up the show a little bit before we go in. Mm-hmm. So earlier today, as a matter of fact, it wasn't earlier. It was on my way in, like I said. No, I take that back. It was earlier this morning when I went to work. Mm-hmm. I flipped on the radio to GCI, and they were playing The Breakfast Club. Okay. And on The Breakfast Club was Jacquees, the self-proclaimed king of R&B. And I'm listening to this interview, and I'm dumbfounded in more ways than one. Mm-hmm. But the one thing that lets me know that as a person, I am way out of the loop with the artists nowadays. Yeah. They asked Jacquees and said, name the next top 4 R&B artists. Mm-hmm. He named off 4 guys. And dude, if you put a gun to my head right now and said name at least one of them or I'd shoot, I would have no idea. He just named off 4 names. I'm thinking to myself, who in the hell are these people? I have no idea who they are.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, dude. So then on my way in here to the show, for whatever reason, All or Nothing by O-Town came in my head, and I was like, I'm going to fire that up on the Pandora. And it just started playing all the array of the chick flick 90s, 2000s R&B songs, from your NSYNCs to your Backstreet Boys to your O-Towns to your Casey and JoJo's to your 98 Degrees. Hell right, dude. And I was sitting here thinking to myself, this is what's lost in R&B. R&B, not Neo was on there, because I think Neo is one of, if not the greatest songwriter.
He's underrated, too.
Easily. You may not like his voice, but you will not argue with the fact that this man, without question, is arguably the best songwriter of our time.
Still writing hit songs.
Yes. So, with that being said, the problem with R&B nowadays is just everyone sings about sex. No one sings anymore about See, R&B back in the day was making love and treating your woman right.
Sex. It was half sex, not
right, but not as blatant as it is right now. Like, Boys to Men say, "I'll make love to you." It's like more sensual. Nowadays, it's like, I just hit it from the back. Ain't nobody trying to hit that crap.
Yeah,
unless you're, 18 to 22 and you like that crap.
To be fair, there's varying levels to it, right? Like 112 was like,
the Peaches and Cream.
Yeah, Peaches, they beat, there's varying levels to it, right? It's like R. Kelly will just straight up say,
true,
we're gonna do this, and I'm gonna put this into
true. That's true.
So,
I can't argue that.
But I do hear you though that there was a subtlety to it in the 90s and even in the early 2000s, like before the whole swag movement hit, R&B definitely had a different. But there are some songs where you listen to and you're like, there's some really cringy lyrics. But I think at the end of the day, to me, man, I have a very different thought process on music than I used to. I think with me, man, music, dude, if it makes me feel good while I'm listening to it, I don't really care what you're saying anymore. It's not even really. It's not that I've changed too much. It's just that, you know, I used to be the person who's like, I can't listen to ignorant rap or ignorant this or, you know, this terrible poppy, you know, 103.5 type music. And I'll be honest, I've sort of changed my opinion on that.
Yeah,
so,
dude.
You know, sometimes I'm like, sometimes I catch myself like, man, this song is pretty dope. And I'm not a huge fan of what they're saying or the theme of the song per se, but I'm like, wow, I really, you know, I can fuck with this. So.
And at the same time, allow me to apologize to you. So, as you guys know the story, Mack and I both went to school, and I'm gonna tell you a story because I know I remember as clear as day. You'll remember it here in a minute.
Yeah.
So when Mack and I were in school, we were doing this project, and before we did this project, it was when we first started TV. Mm-hmm. I asked you what was your top 5 rappers, and there you told me Lupe Fiasco, right?
Yes.
And for the life of me, I was clowning you at
That's
will.
Right, you did.
That I was like, Lupe is not top 5.
You know, it's crazy you mentioned that because the other day, you know the memories thing in Facebook?
Yes.
It was you posting on my wall saying, hey, I can't believe I said this about Lupe.
Yes.
Because this.
That's exactly where I was going.
Yeah.
Because, yes, I had to publicly apologize yet again.
That's right, yeah.
I was like, okay, maybe Lupe is a whole lot better than I gave him credit.
Yeah.
I was listening to earlier today at work, and I was like, yeah, no, Lupe is raw as hell.
One thing that was like always tough for me, you know, Lupe's a tough sell. You know, sometimes what he's talking about is so intricate, and you know, I hate to be like, you know, this guy, but you know, he has a song called "Dumb It Down," right?
Yeah,
it's like there's this thought process that if you want to be part of the mainstream and you want to be, you know, even honestly, even a part of the whole top 5, you know, because there are artists right now that are like super poppy in the top 5 or 10 that could say, no, I'm not going to bend my morals. I'm going to talk about what I want to. I'm going to make my stuff complicated. I want people to listen and really understand.
Right.
And they don't do it because they know that, you know, they would lose their top 5 status. And I think Lupe has never even came close to that status because he refuses to sort of sacrifice the intellectual side of his rapping.
Right.
And again, he's always been conscious about what he's rapping about. He's one of the first people to call out Obama on some of the things that Obama did wrong. And then, you know, honestly, people were ready to throw him in the trash at the time too because Obama was just such this cult figure that everyone loved so much. And I think for somebody to say something like, hey, maybe Obama isn't perfect.
Right.
And everyone just sort of came out and said, man, you know, Lupe. But to be honest, Lupe, you know, he's very balanced on that issue too. He doesn't feel like Obama is the devil, you know.
Right.
He just felt like, man, there were some policies that you that were under your sort of watch that I didn't appreciate. But yeah, Lupe's super underrated and still one of the best to ever do it.
Exactly. So I got Georgia Auburn fired up right here on the computer, so we'll be watching that as we talk on. Mm-hmm. We definitely got a lot of topics to talk about. We will get into some MLB hot stove. Actually, we got to talk about some MLB period because it seems like the nemesis of the Yankees of 2 of the last 3 playoffs, good old Houston, might have been cheating a little bit.
You know what, Nick? It's not even a might have. It's not even a might.
It sounds like they were.
You know, I'm done. I've seen too much, watched too much, read too much. It's not a maybe.
Yes. So we'll get into that. We got some college football we're gonna talk about. We're gonna talk about the playoff, what we feel like is gonna happen. As I mentioned, Georgia is the number 4 team in the country. I was asked earlier, well, it wasn't me to ask, but I saw a question in the group about would Oregon get over Alabama? You know what I'm saying? So we'll get into that, but I kind of talked about what happened a couple years ago when Ohio State was the number 2 team in the country who got in over a Penn State team that not only beat Ohio State, but won the Big Ten and was outside looking in.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that. We got some NBA talk we will talk about. Max got a UFC fight night up on his tablet. So we got a lot to talk about, but we'll go ahead and start getting into Major League Baseball. So
yes, sir.
Justin Verlander wins the Cy Young. For the most part, there's no argument on that. It was either going to be him or Cole, and I guess they were kind of close.
I think they're the first ever
place.
teammates to be 1
and 2,
yeah.
right. Jacob deGrom won back-to-back Cy Youngs. He's the first Mets pitcher to do that since good old Tom Seaver.
Oh, wow.
So congratulations to Jacob deGrom on that. Rocco Baldelli beat up Aaron Boone for Manager of the Year. Now, this one for me, where I'm not too upset about it, but I'm perturbed about it. Because everyone's saying, well, Nick, everyone knew that the Yankees were potentially going to win the American League East. Okay, that's fine. But to me, that's like looking at the cover of the book and not reading the pages to tell me if it's good.
Yeah.
Because, yes, the Yankees won 103 games. Yes, the Yankees won the East handily. Yes, the Yankees had the second best record in the American League. But what you're not talking about was you missed Greg Bird all year. I know it's not, but he's gone. So Greg Bird all year, DJ LeMahieu you missed, Miguel Andujar, who was runner-up for Rookie of the Year, gone for the year.
I mean, the first month,
Aaron Judge.
Nick, the first month and a half, you had 6 or 7 players that were injured.
Yes, exactly. Stanton's gone. Severino still hasn't
Judge
pitched.
had a 2 or 3
Judge
week,
had about a month gone because of the core injury. You lost Luke Voigt towards the end of the year.
Yeah.
Gary Sanchez is in and out. Brett Gardner's in and out.
Didi was coming back, right?
Didi was coming back from Tommy John.
Tommy John, yeah.
Aaron Hicks is in and out. So all these interchangeable pieces happened, and somehow Aaron Boone kept this team together for them to win 103 games and go all the way to Game 6 of the ALCS. I'm not trying to take away anything that Rocco Baldelli did, because a lot of people didn't think that the Minnesota Twins were going to run away and hide with the AL Central the way that they did. I still think that Aaron Boone should have got a little bit more love. And don't tell me how you thought that the Yankees, were going to be great anyway when they didn't have really, I can't think of one time where Aaron Boone had the same lineup at least 3 games in a row.
Yeah.
Not once. So, but again, congratulations to Rocco Baldelli. He ends up winning the AL Manager of the Year. Mike Trout wins the MVP, and I kind of have something against Mike Trout winning MVP because and this is the argument that I've had when it comes to the MVP award, in particular for all sports. I'm at a point now where MVP should now become MOP, the most outstanding player, because I feel somewhere it's been lost on what the most valuable player means. Mike Trout had an outstanding season, but he didn't make the Angels better. Okay, Marcus Semien, who somehow got in over DJ LeMahieu, which I will never understand, no offense, was good on the A's, but did he really make the A's better than what they were supposed to be?
He was like the 3rd best hitter in their lineup.
Thank you.
Like he wasn't.
Thank you. In a injury depleted New York Yankees team, DJ LeMahieu finished 2nd in the batting title behind Tim Anderson Jr. He was top 2 or 3 on the Yankees in home runs. He hit 30 home runs. He hit 100 RBIs. As a matter of fact, DJ LeMahieu was the only leadoff hitter in I don't know how many years to lead the league in home runs, hit over 100 RBIs, top 3 in on-base percentage, top 3 in batting average, and a lot of other stats. No other guy did it. So let me make sure I got this straight. Dustin Pedroia, that put up a similar season when he was playing, won MVP. And then you're going to tell me that Alex cheating-ass Bregman, Mike Trout, and Marcus, I don't know why he shouldn't even be there, Semien, who had better seasons than DJ LeMahieu and what he meant to the Yankees.
Yeah.
So again, when you tell me that, just like Cody Bellinger winning the MVP with the Los Angeles Dodgers. Okay, Dodgers had a top record, but really, was he really the most valuable? Anthony Rendon didn't jumpstart his team with the way that he was playing. So again, I feel like the MVP has lost its value, and now I'm going to start calling the MOP. The same thing that people were arguing about in the NBA when everyone on their mama thought that James Harden should have been the MVP last year, when Giannis, who averaged a double-double and put up career numbers for the #1 team and not even in the East, in the entire NBA. And everyone's was like, well, James Harden scoring, blah, 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 this and that and everything else. That's outstanding, but it's not valuable.
Right.
Because if you took Giannis off of the Milwaukee Bucks, they're not making the playoffs.
Yeah.
They're not even a little bit. James Harden, you take him off the Rockets.
I mean, you still had CP3, you still had Capella, you still had, Eric Gordon, you still had PJ Tucker. You were going to be a middling team, maybe not as good as the Rockets were, but I think the real issue is like the verbiage. It's like,
yes,
is valuable. I get it. MVP is this old term that we've used for a long time,
right?
But is it time to maybe make it clear what you feel the most valuable player is,
right?
Have a scale, like, I know it's tough to really quantify these types of things and say, well, how can you say that somebody's more valuable than another person? Well, you can look at the numbers. You can also look at the team, how the team did. You can also look at, a million other things in my mind. So, I think you're right. I think maybe we're due for like a new, maybe split it up into 2 awards. Maybe make it so that who had the best statistical season, who's the most valuable. Because WAR, I mean, let's be honest, WAR. Yeah. The advanced metric is literally your value to your team, right? So how about we tie it in with metrics and say, okay, whoever has the highest WAR this year is the most valuable player, because technically speaking, the more wins above replacement you have,
right,
the more valuable you are to that team, because again, WAR is based on a replacement player.
Right.
So, how many more wins above your replacement would you give your team? To me, that's the most valuable player right there. I haven't looked at who had the highest WAR. I'd be willing to bet that Mike Trout was up there still. Yeah. But again, I think maybe we should clear it up as to what we really think the most valuable player is.
Is that UFC legend Thiago Alves?
It is. Yeah, he's making he I don't know what exactly happened to him, but I'm pretty sure he's back on this card right now. So yeah, he actually this was from earlier this year. Yeah, and then this Jamaican prospect, he's pretty good too. Yeah, this is a fight I saw him in against Brian Barberina. He beat up Brian Barberina. Yeah, look at that.
Yeah, these are
nasty.
Eating shots.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah, standing. Warley Alves versus the Randy Brown is his name, Randy Rude Boy Brown. Yeah, he looks good.
Yes, sir. But the main talk about, all right, so just some small hot stove talk. Garrett Cole said that he is no rush to sign. His agent obviously is, the main one.
Scott Boras?
There you go.
Scott Boras, yeah.
There you go. Scott Boras, and said that he told Garrett Cole to be in no rush to sign. So the Garrett Cole sweepstakes is still up in the air. The Yankees are still considering if they're going to bring back Didi Gregorius or not. There was an interesting article about the Yankees with that, about maybe that they're considering switching positions for Miguel Andujar. And I was thinking about this earlier because I'm like, okay, so if that's the case, then bringing Didi back, it makes sense, but I think it makes more sense than it doesn't, because you want to have that depth, because you're still not sure how Miguel's going to respond to the shoulder issue. Yeah. Then that means,
was it a throwing shoulder thing?
It was it was the right shoulder. So here's what they did. They caught lightning in the bottle with Gio Urshela. By saying you're going to switch positions with Miguel Andujar, that lets me know that you are expecting Gio to repeat exactly what he did last year. That's fine. Then you're going to take Gleyber Torres and move him second to his natural position at short. That's fine. So then that means, are you going to teach Miguel Andujar to play second base? I would be fine with that, because now that tells me that you're comfortable with teaching DJ LeMahieu first, which now means that you've now given up on Greg Bird. You're going to keep Luke around to play a little DH, to play a little first, if you need to mix match your infield, because you know that DJ LeMahieu is your utility guy, which I'm fine with. But Greg Bird at this point, it's a lost cause.
Yeah.
He is a lost cause.
Can't stay healthy.
He can't stay healthy for squat.
Yeah.
Can't flip and stay healthy. And I don't understand it to this day. So there's no use in keeping him around. And there was all this talks about maybe the Yankees going out for Francisco Lindor and trading him with the Indians and this and that.
I'm surprised they haven't been more involved on that.
Yeah,
honestly.
me either. But at the same time, I think Brian Cashman is still trying to stick with the plan of making sure that this farm system is straight. Not trade. If you want to trade any pitching prospects that we have, you can dingle Chase Adams out there, because this man was supposed to be like the next best big thing in the Yankees pitching staff, and yet it's another dud as far as I'm concerned. So we'll see what happens with that stuff. I'm trying to think what else. That's really
Jose Abreu did accept the qualifying offer from the White Sox.
He wasn't leaving the White Sox.
Yeah, he wasn't leaving them either way, so he'll be back on a 1 year. I think it's $19 million for that 1 year.
Yep.
Pretty nice payday for him. I think the thought process for the White Sox is that you'll hopefully talk extension with him over the next couple of months and maybe get that number down for next year for sure.
Right.
And then hope for because again, I'm reading a lot right now, and it's crazy. Scott Boras actually said it. Mm-hmm. He said something about how people look at the White Sox different now, and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago, teams would never even field calls from the White Sox.
Right
now, they're looking at the White Sox as a possible place for I think people look at the White Sox now that the way that they looked at Atlanta a couple of years ago, and Houston before they were big, and the Cubs before. So I think the White Sox have a big opportunity here. I'm happy to see some leadership step up and go into the media and say we're ready to spend money, because I don't want to put too much pressure on them, but I also want them to make it clear we're ready to compete and we're ready to spend money. And I think they did that. So now, what they do remains to be seen. But free agency is going to be fun this year because
I think so.
Because the game has changed a little bit because of last year. So teams are going to be going, because what the Nationals did this year motivated a lot of teams.
Right.
And I would say a lot of teams that are more in the mold of mine rather than the Yankees, because the Yankees were only a game away from the World Series, right? So, or even one pitch away from the World Series, let's say. So, the White Sox and some of these other middling teams, they look at the Nationals and say, man, the Nationals, I mean, let's be honest, you looked at their roster from top to bottom after the World Series, and you didn't see this stacked team, right? There was like a lot of good veterans on this team, the Kurt Suzukis, the Howie Kendricks, the Adam Eatons, and then there was a mix of young, homegrown talent, and obviously a couple of superstars and a big pitching staff mixed in there. So I think the White Sox look at this year in a different light now and see possibly a team that could possibly contend for a division title. We'll see, hopefully.
Looking at Georgia right now, have them stop whatever genius this is a pass interference. Clear interference.
Yeah. 10 minutes left in the fourth, and they're down 21-0, so that Auburn's got to move here.
Right. And so that's baseball right there. The free agency is still fresh. It's not too many big-time rumors, but as time goes on, we'll talk about it. But before we get into college football, because we're watching it, let's talk about this whole Houston Astros thing.
Please.
The Houston Astros now, it seems like there's a lot of evidence pointing that they have been stealing signs electronically since 2017, which would have been the ALCS, the World Series run, actually. And it's kind of funny because if you remember that ALCS, the Yankees or the Astros won all games at home. They won games 1 and 2, and they won games 6 and 7, but lost all 3 games and pretty handily at Yankee Stadium.
Oh, wow.
And the thing was, in a couple of those games with the Yankees, if I'm not mistaken, in Game 6, they actually had a lead. And then they ended up blowing it. And then, obviously, in 2018, they made a run to the ALCS where they lost to Boston. And then it's just past year, they went all the way to Game 7 of the World Series with Washington. But now they're talking about that it sounds like there's going to be some hefty suspensions laid down.
Yeah.
And They're talking about that AJ Hinch is involved in this. It sounds like Boston manager Alex Cora is involved in this. And the most recent hiring of Carlos Beltran in New York is now involved with this. And I'm
a part of that Astros team in 17.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of wondering how this is really going to play out because, if how far does that put a team like Boston and a team like New York behind the 8 ball that they're not going to have their managers being suspended? And now, does this put an asterisk next to the World Series title? Does this put an asterisk over the last 2 runs, your ALCS championship this year? Not for nothing. I mean, no offense. I know Jose Altuve is a monster and all this and everything else, but did you really see that slider coming from what's his name?
True.
I know it was right down the middle of the plate, but how did you know that slider was coming like that?
Honestly, Nick, part of my resolution to this is the MLB going through the tape of every single pitch of this postseason for the Astros.
Yep.
Because the first video that I saw in regards to this was actually against the White Sox. It was against Danny Farquhar.
Okay.
It was in 2017. It was during the regular season.
Right.
And essentially, every time a changeup sign went up from the catcher, within a moment, you heard banging on a trash can in the Astros dugout. So without fail, every single time it happens, whether or not they're throwing down the changeup signal, because he knows if it's not the changeup, it's going to be the fastball.
Right.
So every single time there's no bang, the hitter's right there with the fastball. Every time there is a bang, they're right there with the changeup or they lay off the changeup. At some point in this at-bat, Farquhar calls time, brings over his catcher, and says something to him. We know now what he's saying to him is they definitely know that we're throwing the changeup sign there. What happens? They go back, they mix the signals up a little bit, they throw a changeup, they strike out one of the Astros hitters. Nick, this is really bad for baseball. Like really, really bad for baseball.
I don't mean to stop you right now, but I got breaking news right now that Tua Tagovailoa is expected to miss the remainder of the year after suffering a dislocated hip in the game on Saturday. So, huge loss for Alabama going into.
It's more of a loss for him. It's more of a loss for him. I mean, he's. Do you stay now? I think he has to stay now, right? I think he has to stay now. I mean, you don't come out with a. That's a major injury, especially for a quarterback. If it's like we all saw the Dak dance, the dance of Dak. Videos shout out to Spice Adams, those are amazing. But yeah, that type of injury for a quarterback is terrible.
Basically, the question you have to ask on that is, can you Willis McGahee yourself into the draft?
Oh my
Remember,
God, yeah,
Willis McGahee
really
completely blew his knee out.
One of the worst injuries I've ever seen live.
Yes.
You could see his leg dangle during the play, which was really nasty.
And somehow Willis got drafted 21st overall by the Buffalo Bills.
And had a really nice start to his career.
Exactly.
I mean, what we know about running backs now is that, after the 5-year mark, anything can happen.
Right.
So, the guys like Willis McGahee and I'm slipping on another name there out of Miami, but there's a couple of guys who had the really nice couple of years, and Clint Portis is who I was thinking of. Yeah, Clint Portis, yeah. He actually had a pretty long career.
He did.
Though. He went to the Redskins and did some pretty good stuff.
He did.
But honestly, Nick, and we'll talk about that Tua stuff later. But just to wrap this Astro stuff in a bow, this is really bad for baseball.
It is.
Like, really, really bad for baseball, meaning, we're going to have to figure out what we're going to do about this. I put this on the level of, remember the Black Sox scandal of, them betting on the game? I think this is that times a million, honestly, because when you've got a team that's had success over the last couple of years and has won 2 World Series, or one World Series, and had a couple of appearances out of it, that's a major, major deal.
It is.
And it's a major deal because, remember, Mike Fiers, who is one of the pitchers for the Astros, who's now, I believe, with the A's.
He's with the A's right now.
he's the first one to come out and break this
Yep.
and say, yo, we got to do something about this because I'm not with them anymore.
Right.
But when I was with them, we knew because apparently this is like really deep. This is like you have the bullpen catcher who's in on this. You got the bullpen coach. You got the bench coach. You got a bunch of different components within the organization orchestrating this cheating system where Houston has, this isn't just like tipping pitches, right? I think I've seen some people saying, well, people tip pitches all the time, or what about when, because, you do see it when a guy's on second base, he'll throw a little, tap to his head or something to indicate to the, and this looks nasty here with Worley Alvarez and Rude Boy Brown, but yeah, this is really bad for baseball. We gotta figure something out here. Like I said, I think we should review every single pitch from this postseason, and it's got to be that scrutinized.
Oh, he choked him out.
He choked him out with the triangle choke, and that's crazy because Worley Alves is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, and he's telling him, hold on, he might have hurt himself.
And that's after in the first round he damn near got choked out.
I know. And Worley had a pretty damn good first round.
Yeah, he did.
But Randy Rude Boy Brown with the triangle choke from the bottom, pretty nice, especially on a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt like Worley Alves. That's pretty impressive.
Yes.
But yeah, Nick. I mean, what do you do now? What do you do if you're the MLB? People are talking death penalty, which there's no real death penalty. You can't take the team out of the league.
Right.
What are you gonna do? Like demote them to AAA? Like
right.
you can't really punish them in the way that you really need to punish them. So what do you do right now to hold the Astros?
I mean,
accountable?
are you stealing draft? Are you going to take draft picks away from them?
But even remember that whole thing that happened between, I think it was the Cardinals and Houston, where they said that Houston or somebody within Houston or St. Louis had stolen some scouting information. They hacked in and got some scouting information. As by the way, if you're watching the Auburn and Georgia game, it looks like Auburn just got the ball back. I think it was an onside kick. I don't know if it went past 10 yards here. So I think they're gonna see if he touches it first here because it's not past 10 yards. It does. Ooh, does his pinky? Oh, it does touch there.
So that's gonna be a legal touch, right there.
Yeah, we'll see. I didn't get to see if it was. I didn't get to see it early enough in the replay, but yeah, Nick, I don't know what you do here. You got to figure out something, but there's nothing really that you can do.
There's nothing much you can do at this point. But I mean, at the same time, the Houston Astros better get the same. Like, okay. It may not be anything you can do to Houston Astros, but it's definitely something you're going to do to A.J. Hinch. It's something that you're going to do to Alex Cora. It's something that you're going to do to Carlos Beltran. And because
can you make them terminate A.J. Hinch?
I wouldn't so much say fire, but I'm not against a 1-year suspension for it. I'm not against that.
Yeah.
So think about it. If A.J. Hinch was the manager at the time of this happening.
If he knew, you're saying if he was a part of this,
If Greg Williams can get suspended. No, it wasn't Greg.
It was Greg Williams, yeah.
Sean Payton got a whole year.
That's right.
That's what I'm thinking of.
That's right.
Sean Payton got a whole year.
Because he knew Greg
Williams and the Saints had a bounty scandal.
Right.
So you're going to tell me A.J. Hinch isn't going to get a whole year for knowing that they were stealing signs electronically? Yeah. You're going to tell me that Alex Cora can't get anywhere from a 50 to 75 game suspension for it? You're going to tell me that Carlos Beltran isn't going to get a 50 to 75 game? Because it seems like the overwhelming evidence is that they knew what was going on. That they're like it seems like everyone's blowing the whistle. All the former Astros are blowing the whistle. Because think about it like this. It seems like there's a lot of dirty play. Why did Nolan Ryan all of a sudden say, F you, Houston, I'm out?
Well, okay, let me answer. Because Nolan Ryan's son got demoted.
Okay.
So they're saying that because of that demotion, Nolan Ryan, because apparently for years up until the Astros won the World Series, it was the president, Nolan Ryan, and then Nolan Ryan's son. They decided that Nolan Ryan's son was he's saying it was willing, but you know how it is. Right. You're held hostage when you're in that situation. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? Either lose my job as a whole or get demoted. And, I'll just take the demotion. But no, you bring up a fair point here. But what I'm saying is, okay, why Carlos Beltran and Alex Cora? Now, Alex Cora was the bench coach, I believe, at the time.
Yes.
And Carlos Beltran was a player at the time. Now, if you set that precedent and you're going to suspend them and you're going to punish them, man, we gotta punish the whole damn team then. And here's what I would say: the pitchers who benefited from that. The catchers who were basically in the dugout or in the bullpen, relaying these signs somehow electronically. I don't know what the system was, but it was quick.
Right.
It wasn't one of these systems like the whole banging system. That is a quick, because you got to think about the time that from when the sign is flashed to the pitch,
right?
It's not any more than 2 seconds, maybe 2 or 3 seconds,
right?
So you got to have this lightning fast system to get these signs in. This isn't just like, ooh, we stumbled upon something. No, this is like, hey, we're going to go and do this, and that's how we're gonna have this. So this is an intricate system. I agree with you though. It's tough to figure out who's gonna be punished and how you're gonna punish them.
So again. If you're going to suspend Greg Williams indefinitely because he was the head honcho, and then you're going to suspend Sean Payton for a whole year because he was the head coach and he knew, well, you're right. Carlos Beltran was a player, so maybe he might get away with it.
Yeah.
He might serve something, but he's not going to serve a 1-year suspension like AJ Hinch, and maybe a 50 to 75 game suspension for Cora. Because think about it. Pete Rose, who's the all-time hits leader, is banned from baseball for supposedly betting. How much different is this? You did something to change the outcome of the game by electronically figuring out what people were going to pitch and then relaying it to the bench, and then somehow they have a Morse code to let them know, and you thinking that it's innocent and everything, but at the same time, Houston knows what's going to happen. Because let me tell you why I feel like Houston is in more controversy. Can you explain to me how in the world did Charlie Morton go from being an average pitcher to all of a sudden getting 6-7 inches break off his curveball? Because somebody called him out. I can't remember what pitcher it was.
It was Trevor Bauer from the Indians.
Called him out.
Yeah.
He said, ain't no way. There's no way you're going to tell me that your pitching coach is that much of a genius that you went from being an average guy to all of a sudden go. Justin Verlander's the same way. Everyone was like, oh, Justin Verlander's at the end of his career.
They were ready to throw him away.
Ready to throw him away.
Detroit didn't get much in that trade. No. They only got a couple, minor prospects.
Right. Now, all of a sudden, this man won, I swear to God, 45 games in the last 2 years.
And a Cy Young.
And a Cy Young and a World Series championship. Yeah. And all of a sudden now he's throwing 95. Justin Verlander's so ass backwards. This man throws 95 in the first 3 innings, and you're going to tell me after 120 pitches this man's dropping 99?
Yeah,
seriously?
I think Trevor Bauer was. I think he was right to come out and do what he did, which is to basically say, I'm a guy who does it the right way, which I don't like Trevor Bauer. I think he's a douchebag, but I think though that he does do things the right way.
Yes.
I think though he is a great pitcher. And one thing that you can't say about him is that he doesn't know the science of pitching, which he really does understand about how to hold the ball, which finger to roll it off of to get this effect. And what he basically said was, me and my team have reviewed tape of these guys, and there's no way that you can improve your pitches that drastically in that little time.
Right.
That's really what it comes down to. So. And let's be honest, Nick, because this isn't the first time the Astros have been in the middle of this type of controversy.
Right.
Remember, there was talk earlier this year about this whole thing. Remember, Alex Cora was giving them trouble about it last year during the ALCS too. So there was a ton of noise about this whole thing with the Astros. I'm interested to see what happens. Honestly, Nick, I'd be interested to see a freeze on the organization. I'd like them to not be able to acquire any more pitchers or any.
I'm with you on that.
That's we have to do something drastic here.
Yeah,
we really have to do something drastic here because you have to set a precedent with this. Because I'll be honest with you. If the Astros are doing this, they're not the only ones doing this.
I'm with you.
There's a ton of teams who are doing this, and it's about who can out-cheat the other, and we have to kill that and nip that in the bud.
Yep. I'm with you on that. So, you're right. We can't do a death penalty, like the NCAA tries to be on that stupid nonsense. But at the same time, think about it. in the NCAA's case, because there's so many schools,
Right.
you can get
You can
away
afford
by
to just
saying,
say, yeah.
yep, you're not going to
Bye-bye,
make the
SMU.
playoffs,
Yeah.
you're gone. If you're the Houston Astros, or if you're Major League Baseball, do you really say, okay, Houston, yeah, sure, you can win 101 games, but you're not going to go to the playoffs?
Now here's an interesting one though, and you just mentioned it with that, but can you possibly say to a team that's that good, you're not eligible for the playoffs for the next 5 years? You can't, right? Because what if they win 105 games next year or something crazy, and you're like, they're clearly the best team in the regular season, but by the way,
that'd be a huge fight between them and the MLB.
For sure. So I can't see anything too drastic happening. That's the worst part about it, right?
Yeah.
Like, what's the worst that can happen? Maybe AJ Hinch gets suspended. To me, AJ Hinch is like, in this case, he's probably like, shit, suspend me, go ahead. I already got a World Series to show for it, and I got I got a couple appearances to show for it. There's really no repercussions that are going to be equal to the crime.
But at the same time, too, though, think about it. Do you think that that's how Sean Payton felt when the whole Bounty Gate went down after they won a championship? Like, you never know what's going in the guy's head because you could say, yeah, I got the ring, but now your reputation is kind of smeared. Yeah, well, you know what I'm saying?
But to be fair, the Sean Payton stuff wasn't cheating, right? That was just something really egregious. That was like, why would you let this guy run a bounty program with the defense?
Right.
It was immoral. It was something that the team should never have let happen.
Right.
And they were purposely trying to hurt people. Were they cheating? I don't think they were cheating in that way. It was just, to be honest, Greg Williams probably still has a similar version of that. Let's be honest, he's coached like 4 teams since then. He's in New York now. He was in Cleveland last year. And by the way, Odell Beckham said this year that he knows that a couple of his current teammates have told them that Greg Williams told them that they should go and hurt Odell. So let's be honest, there was really no, that whole thing with Sean Payton. Honestly, I think it was bullshit. Yeah, it happened under his watch. And I think that is really terrible. But a whole year for that guy, that was a really tough thing to see come in. But still different than the Astros thing, I think.
Yeah. So dude, like you said, it's gonna be tough. But like you said, something's got to happen. You almost let them get away with it But think about it like this, Alex Rodriguez, for what it's worth.
That's true, yeah.
Has never failed a drug test, yet was suspended for a whole year based on hearsay. You have concrete proof. Yeah. So if we're gonna be on this precedent that steroids is cheating on baseball, which I am clearly against, because if you can't hit a damn baseball, you just frankly can't hit a baseball. Yeah. Think about it like this. David Segui supposedly was on steroids. Yeah. David Segui sucks.
Yeah, he was jacked too at the time too, and he couldn't hit.
He couldn't hit for squat.
Yeah.
Now everyone gets on Barry Bonds' case, like, his head size grew. Blah, blah. Do you know Barry Bonds was still bombing balls when he was in Pittsburgh?
It's also crazy to see people still scapegoat Barry Bonds when Barry Bonds was the last guy to start trying steroids.
Right.
It was like this started with the Bash brothers in Oakland and Jose Canseco and Mark McGwire. And by the way, guys, Auburn just scored. It's 21-13. An extra point makes it 21-14 with 7 minutes left. And Auburn, man, what a comeback here for Bo Nix and Auburn.
True.
This could be big for them if they can get a stop and get the ball back. But yeah, man, that's to be really frank, I want to see what happens over the next week.
Yep.
I want to see how the MLB handles this.
Yep.
And honestly, I want to see the type of evidence they try and mount against this team. I don't want it to be like, we've seen everything we need to see. No, I want you to go back and look at all the tapes. I want you to go back to 2017.
Yep.
I want you to go back to like when I want to see it all, because to be quite honest, the deeper this goes, again, I watched that breakdown of the White Sox game, but apparently they've got hours of tape of this, and it's just really easy and out in the open, but people just overlooked it for a long time.
Yep.
So we'll see what happens this weekend.
We will see what happens this weekend. If you haven't already checked out PodRiver.com for other shows on the network, which includes Boss to Boss with Miro Wieslow and Local Level with Steve Wiley. Check out PodRiver Media on YouTube for new videos 4 times a week. Also, if you have a service or product that you would like to promote on any of the shows or our network, PodRiver is offering simple sponsorship plans. Visit www.podriver.com and fill out the form for pricing information. Again, that is podriver.com.
Yes, sir.
So, some slight NBA talk. As you see, I'm wearing my Knicks shirt.
Yes.
Even though I was very disappointed with the Knicks and the way they just let Kobe White look like Michael Jordan other night,
Kobe
dude.
White.
That
And
pissed me off so bad.
To be fair, he had 6 the next game too. So I don't think it was the Knicks. I think Kobe White just.
It was us that set the fire.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Christ Almighty!
You
I'm like, dude. I was like, hey, Frank Ntilikina. He's hitting threes wide open.
Yeah.
Stay on him. Do not switch.
Yeah.
Like any little piece of space Kobe White had, he was firing the trigger.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, is this really happening?
Yeah.
And the Knicks were too damn stupid to understand what was happening. And at this point, I was like, oh, I'm turning this game off because this is really going to piss me off because I hate losing to the Bulls.
To be fair, though, the Knicks did make the adjustment because what Kobe wants to do, because he's 6'5", but he's really fast and quick. So what he wants to do is he wants to drive in on you.
Right.
And the Knicks made the adjustment because Ntilikina, as good of a defender as he is, he's not very fast.
No.
He's not very quick.
I'm with you on
fleet
that.
of foot. So White was beating him to the rim every single time. There was a couple times where Ntilikina's length really helped him. If it wasn't for his length, Kobe would have converted. So honestly, though, that whole Kobe White game, I think that was a confidence builder for him. By the way, his college coach was in the stands for that game. Roy Williams.
Roy Williams
was in the game. So he told me, come back every week, coach, because he's never had a shooting performance like that. I don't think I've ever seen. And then like I said, the next game he had 6, and the Bulls still lost, but it was still the Bulls again doing everything they can to win the game for the first 3 quarters and then doing everything they can to lose the game in the last quarter.
And some of that's on what's his name too.
Jim Boylan.
Jim
Boylan, without a doubt.
Like that game against the Lakers when he was like, I'm trying to figure some guys out and develop. Bro, that's what the preseason's for.
Yeah,
baby.
it's like, dude, we're in the game. We're leading. And by the way, to be honest, this whole thing about he thinks that right now he's teaching the young guys. I hate to break it to you, dude. They're not young anymore.
No.
Like, there's a couple of young guys on this team now. Everybody else has been in the league for 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
At the minimum, okay? So we don't need to have this whole conversation about, I've got to teach these guys. The whole they went out and made punch cards and a punch-in machine so that every time you come in for practice, you punch in so you understand how it feels to punch in and be a lunch pail type of worker. Go fuck yourself, man. Dude, we need to play. First of all, we need a better game plan.
Yes.
Let's start there. When your game plan for the game is, hey, how about we just give it to Zach LaVine and hope that he does something on a one-on-one or a 2-man game. We've got to have a better game plan, and a part of me is really encouraged by the Bulls, but a part of me is like, man, I feel like the Bulls and the Knicks are sort of in opposite situations, even though they're in the same situation, because I feel like with the Knicks, all the blame is being placed on the head coach.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Yeah, and no blame being put on the players, and it's the opposite for the Bulls. All blame being put on these players still, and none on the coach.
Let's talk about that for a second, because I was very disturbed after they lost that Sunday game against Cleveland. I'm telling you, dude, it wasn't 10 minutes. I get this notification on my phone talking about Steve Mills and Scott Perry held this press conference.
Yeah, I saw
that. So I watched it, and I was like, okay, David Fizdale must have the most patience in the world. Because this is why people make fun of the New York Knicks.
Yeah.
You're going to tell me that you held this press conference saying that we are confident in Fizdale and the coaching staff. We're confident in the players, but we don't like where we're at right now. That's a conversation you could have with David Fizdale.
Why'd you have to have a press
low.
conference?
Because James Dolan is the biggest flipping idiot of all sports owners.
He really is.
And I mean, he makes Jerry Jones look like a saint.
Look like Jesus.
And like straight Jesus. And what kills me is now I see why everyone keeps saying saying James Dolan sell the team, sell the team, because he does something so dumb, and he wants Ujiri, whatever his name is from Toronto. You're not getting him.
Yeah, right?
Get over it.
Yeah.
This is your president. This is your general manager. This is the team you put out there.
Yeah.
Now, with that being said, no one expects, again, I just want the Knicks to win games to kind of look good for future free agents to come in. Because, again, you're now putting all your eggs in this Giannis basket. I'm tired of it.
And in 2 years, too, not even next year, because they're like, well, they're aiming for 2021. Like, dude, you just drafted a guy in RJ Barrett who's going to be really good over the next couple of years. Why are you trying to have this thought process of let's wait 2 years to be good? It doesn't make sense.
Yes, exactly. I'm not saying that the collection of players that the Knicks have on there aren't like, they're good. Yeah. They're not great.
Yeah.
They're not a collection of all-stars. We're not the 2000 and whatever you want to call Golden State Warriors. We're not the 96 Bulls. No one said we were. I just want David Fizdale to coach the team. I want him to grab a set of balls and clown Marcus Morris when he's out there acting like a complete dumbass at times. I want him to have a set of balls and clown Julius Randle and say, will you stop turning the damn ball over? Dude, I don't know who has great handles as a big guy. You're not that dude.
Yeah, I don't know why he always wants to try and get. He tries to get the ball within 18 to 20 feet, but then he tries to handle it in the middle of the court. And it's like, yo, man, because first of all, he's not the biggest guy and strongest guy in the world. He's also not the tallest guy in the world.
Right.
So he's sort of in this middle zone where he can't really back guys down, but he also can't beat them off the dribble either.
Exactly. So then for a report to come out to say that James Dolan told Steve Mills that he had to go out and have this press conference, then you make your president and your GM look like complete jackasses, which then makes the Knicks look like further jackasses. And now it's like, dude, why would anybody? You're lucky that RJ Barrett really wanted to come to the Knicks. Now, that leads to my next point, because we just beat Dallas now for the second time this year.
Yeah.
And the New York Knicks fans were all over Kristaps Porzingis the entire game, saying that he sucks,
booing
KP sucks. They were booing the piss out of him. And this 7'3" soft ass had the audacity to come out and say, well, I don't think that booing was very necessary. It wasn't fair. How you say it's not fair? So let me make sure I got this straight. First off, if you didn't know that the New York Knicks weren't tanking last year to get another player to pair up with you, you're a complete effing idiot. Yeah. That's first thing. Second off, you blow off the meeting with Phil Jackson knowing damn well that he be having those meetings with him, and then y'all get into this huge-ass 90210 dispute like two idiots, right? So then finally James Dolan grew a pair of balls, fires Phil Jackson. Steve Mills and Scott Perry is doing everything in their power to make you happy. I bring you an formidable head coach in David Fizdale. I'm telling you that we got a nice little plan coming up. You're not even playing this year.
Right.
So what are you concerned about what we're doing? So then you go into the office, have the 50th meeting, and finally you come out and say, I don't want to be in New York anymore. So what do the Knicks do? They do a huge favor and they trade you to Dallas. Every New York person says, and every paper, and you never denied it until now, that you wanted out of New York. And they did you a favor. And speaking of that, any jackass that keeps coming up to me saying, oh, Nick, you shouldn't have traded Kristaps Porzingis. Why would I keep a guy in New York that doesn't want to be there?
Right. Or anywhere. If you don't want to be on this team, and I like how him and his team are trying to differentiate. Well, we never necessarily said we didn't want to play in New York. We just said we didn't like their game plan. You're saying you don't want to be there. You're saying that what they're doing is not right, and I don't want to be here for that game plan. If they're saying this is how we're gonna run this team over the next couple of years, and you're saying you don't want to be a part of that, then you don't want to be a part of that team. I think it's pretty simple, and he looked frazzled. He
did.
Honestly, Nick.
He did.
I hate to be this guy because there's a lot of people who bring this stuff up for the wrong reasons, but that's where like the whole European thing, where I think like American players are just more they have a stronger wall up for that shit.
Right.
They don't care. Boo me. Do this. Do that. I feel like American players almost thrive on that. And I think European players come in and don't understand why people come in and pay money to boo people, because American fans, and especially basketball fans, and especially New York Knicks fans, have this special type of way of looking at things, which is like, yo, this is the Mecca, man. Like, we are supposed to be the standard for basketball.
Right.
So we have this high standard for what we want our team to be, and that's why we're so hard on Dolan and so hard on our coaches and our players. But I think Kristaps was just not cut out for New York from the beginning, and it showed. It showed in that game where you could see visibly on his face him being hurt by being booed.
Yep.
That's not the type of player, quite frankly, I want on my team. I don't want a guy who's that swayed back and forth.
I could not agree with you 100%, and that's why I'm saying that I feel like the Knicks maybe almost dodged a bullet. Because look at it like this: the first time they beat Dallas, Kristaps Porzingis did the same exact thing in New York that he did in Dallas. When you needed him the most at the end, the idiot fouled out. He did it in Dallas. Then here's what I don't understand. You get traded to Dallas. Dallas is more or less doing the same exact thing that you got mad at New York for doing, and yet you re-upped with them. That lets me know you didn't want to be in New York, and that's fine. Whatever. But A, I'm tired of hearing about the KP thing. That's why I'm glad they don't play him anymore. And then B, it just lets me know that Kristaps Porzingis at the end of the day is nothing but a bitch, because he did straight up sit there and cry, oh, boo, I can't believe the Knicks fans booed me. That's not the truth of what happened. But yet every time you get the chance to prove what happened, you drop the ball and talk about, I don't want to talk about it. So then the more you don't want to talk about what happened, is the more that's going to lead me to believe that the Knicks did exactly what they were supposed to do, because you went up there and said, exactly, I don't want to be a part of this no more. And they did you the biggest favor and got the best what they could out of it, supposedly. Because there were some teams that said, hold on, we had a better package, but the Knicks with the one with Dallas. I don't care.
I think they wanted to make sure to first of all trade him out of the
because
conference.
they're not. What? Give me one good one. The Boston Celtics are gonna give you, unless you're gonna give me.
Yeah, you don't want to trade it. Yeah,
and Tatum and 2 of the 500 first round picks you have, and I'm not trading you to Boston.
Yeah.
Not
especially because I'm going to play you in 2 or 3 years when I'm trying to be good, and now you're I made you better. I honestly. To me, man, the whole Porzingis thing, you're right in a sense, because when he went to Dallas, it's not like Dallas is this win now team right now.
Yes,
like Dallas is still developing themselves. I think Luka, he plays a lot of one-on-one ball. Luka does, and he does really well at it sometimes, but also. He's in the games that they lose, you can tell it's because he's trying to play hero ball a little bit too much. I think he's a guy who grew up watching the NBA and trying to, mimic. He talks a lot about how he looks up to LeBron and he wants to be like LeBron, and you can see that in his game. But quite frankly, it's not like Dallas right now is this team that's a powerhouse and really looking to win right now. I mean, Dallas doesn't really look that great, and to be quite honest, I think KP is still finding his game now.
Right.
He's not there. He's not 100% there yet. That's another big thing about him. He missed a whole last year, and now he actually missed a lot of camp this year too. So yeah, I think you'll start to see him be better. But I think it was pretty clear from that Madison Square Garden one that I don't think KP was cut out for this.
No,
for this
hell
game.
no. So the Knicks did the best thing there. Carmelo is in Portland now.
Yes, he is.
And they needed Carmelo.
Yeah.
So they signed him to a 1 or 2 year non-guaranteed.
It's
contract.
a 1 year non-guaranteed, and apparently they were trying to get him when he went to Oklahoma City. They were trying to get him when he went to Houston, and it made more sense in those circumstances. I feel like he could have just. I honestly feel like he'll do okay there, because I think what happens is when you got Lillard and McCollum on the floor, here's the problem. When he was in Oklahoma City, Russ is a guy you're okay with shooting the ball, right? You want him to shoot the ball. Fine, go ahead. PG is another guy who you're like, I'd rather him beat me on at the 3-point line or shooting a jumper than to drive in on my guy every single time.
Right.
It didn't really work out. When he went to Houston, the only shooter that was on the floor when he was on the floor was Harden.
Yep.
And because he came off the bench a lot, you didn't really have a shooter on the floor to really help him. Now you're going to put him on the same floor as McCollum and Lillard. You've got the type of shooting around him that allows him to play the type of mellow ball that he does, which is that one-on-one ISO ball. Okay, you beat your defender now. I think he's still good enough to do that, and I think Portland, they got a pretty low-key move that will help them here at the end of the day.
We're talking basketball, and I just remembered that I probably should
didn't set your. Oh, you did.
I don't think I did. But at the same time, I have both De'Aaron Fox and I have Marvin Bagley, who are both flipping out.
Dude, I have.
Give me a break.
I had 5. So I was I was in first place coming into this week, and then this week, I had 5 injuries. I had Harrow, and obviously Karis LeVert is out for two months now. I have him. I have Zion, who's another guy who's on my IR. But Lonzo Ball's hurt. I have a lot of guys on my squad right now. So my fantasy season has been very up and down, but and honestly, football wise too. I don't know if you're playing fantasy football this year, but my fantasy teams have been very up and down.
My fantasy team's trying to hang in there football wise. It's just basketball wise, it's a little
basketball's different. It's so much different. It's like every single day is this new challenge. By the way, guys, I'm sorry. I before I get too far here, we're watching the last 3 minutes of this Auburn and Georgia game. Auburn has the ball right now with 3 minutes left, and they're down by 7. They converted a 4th down, and it's 4th down and 2 right now. That's why I mentioned it, because I think this is and by the way, of course they're going to do that to ruin the flow of the show. It's a timeout. But 2:44 left. Bo Nix is driving. It's 4th and 2, and Auburn needs 7 points to tie the game, and they're at the 35-yard line right now. So 4th and 2. Let's see what the play is. Looks like a run here. Fake. And Nix. Oh, terrible pass. Terrible pass by Nix. As he had a running back running out to the flat, and he threw it behind him, if I'm not mistaken.
He did.
And Auburn, looks like that's it. I mean, they have all 3 timeouts, so they can stop the clock. But 2:24 left here. Georgia's going to get the ball back, and all they really have to do is get a first down.
My loving mother asked me one day. She was like, "How come Carmelo's not in the league?"
Huh?
And I was like, "Because Carmelo won't change his game."
Right.
So the whole issue with him when he was in Houston was he would never come off the bench because Carmelo felt that he was still a starter.
Right. And it was an ego thing more than anything, right? It was like, me, come off the bench. It's like, what? You're fucking like 4 years old, Carmelo. Like, come off the bench.
And you play no defense.
Yeah, you don't play, and you can't. Even if you wanted to, you can't.
Right. So I'm like, think about it. Okay, so he was a starter for so long with the Knicks, and then he was kind of a starter when he was in OKC, and even they asked him to come off the bench, and he was playing that, me?
Why would I come off the bench? I'm Carmelo,
Carmelo. So then when they traded him to Houston, Mike D'Antoni, who we never, like Carmelo wanted to go to Houston so bad, and I'm thinking to myself, why are you so eager to go to Houston when, for what it's worth, flipping, they didn't, or what was wrong with Houston? Oh, you didn't get along with Mike D'Antoni in New York. So why would you want to go to Houston where Mike D'Antoni's
They tried to make that seem like a reunion. Like, you guys never liked each other in the first place. Why would there be a reunion?
Thank you. And then, so now it's like, okay, so Carmelo Anthony is sitting at home waiting for that phone call, staying in shape. He's showing all these videos of him playing in the gym as Hoodie Mello and all this other nonsense. And I'm thinking to myself, first of all, that's a pickup game where nobody's playing defense.
Those Instagram videos will really trick you into thinking that.
Won't they? And then to make it worse, you sit there and you go, well, hopefully a team will sign me. And the Portland Trailblazers for the longest time kept saying, come here, we could really use you.
And Lillard talked about it, that he personally recruited him for 3 years in a row.
Yes! And you wanted to go to OKC, and then you wanted to go to Houston.
Let's be honest. He wanted to ride coattails. When he went to OKC, he saw what that PG and Russell will be there.
Right.
And he said, man, this is a really good opportunity for me to finally be Robin.
Right.
And be able to just kind of swoop in and be the secondary or third guy. And then that didn't work out. And by the way, that ended like a crash and burn, like a helicopter crash.
Right.
He finally recovers from that and goes to Houston. And that ends like a car crash as well within 10 games. of him being on the floor. To me, man, I think it's time for Melo to take a hint that his time in the league is waning. Though he does have some skills left, it's clear that in this brand of basketball, you have to play defense.
Right.
Even if you can't, you have to want to play defense.
Right.
Right? You can't. There's a lot of guys in the game who aren't good defenders.
James Harden.
James Harden. And I'll give you another example. Zach LaVine, not the best defender.
No.
But I will tell you this. Zach LaVine wants to defend this year.
Yep.
He has said, you know what, I'm not a good defender, but I want to defend. I'm going to put in the same effort I put on the offensive side of the ball, on the defensive side of the ball, and you can see that now. He's still not a very good defender. It's hard to really help that, but he wants to defend. And Melo didn't want to defend for the longest time.
Hell no.
And now we're going to see how Terry, because honestly, Terry Stotts, and it's 4th down here, and Auburn will get to stop the clock. So with 2 minutes left, they are going to be able to get the ball back here. Georgia went really conservative on that. So they were just trying to, stop or run the clock rather, but
no kind of blocking whatsoever.
So Portland's an interesting place for him, though. Terry Stotts is an interesting coach for him. I think they would, again, the personnel there is interesting. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised to see him have sort of a revival in Portland.
Me either. That was a nasty spinning back.
That was Faraz Zahabi. So a funny story about that card is Faraz Zahabi is one of the best MMA coaches in all of MMA history.
Right.
He's out of Canada, and that's his little brother. And that night, it was a lot of Faraz's fighters were fighting. That's how it usually goes is, if you usually have multiple fighters from the same camp on that card so that you can have multiple cornermen, one cornerman have multiple fights in a night.
Right.
And Faraz was in the corner for his brother getting that. You saw that spinning back fist. That was nasty. He was out for a good 2 or 3 minutes. And Faraz basically came out and said, after the fight, I told him he should retire. Yeah. And his brother is much younger than him. I think he's 23, 24 years old. He told him to stop doing it after that. And of course, the guy never stopped. But that just goes to show you that when your brother is the best MMA coach in the world and he's telling you to stop to maybe retire, you should probably hang him up.
You should probably call it
after a back fist like that.
Yes. So let's get into some college football because we're watching it. We kept talking about it. Georgia's beating Auburn 21-14. Auburn has no timeouts, and they just Auburn just stopped Georgia on a 3rd down and 5 on a swing pass that went basically nowhere. So we'll see what Auburn does here. This has a lot of implications in it because the question that I brought up in the beginning of the show that I saw was brought to attention was, could Alabama get over on a 1-loss or a Pac-12 champion Oregon team? And my answer to that question was yes, because first off, Oregon's going to get a couple of nicks for being in the Pac-12.
Yeah.
The Pac-12 is a Power 5 conference, yet the Pac-12 is never going to get as much love as the SEC will. Not even close.
Yeah.
B, you're now going to be instead, because people are always like, well, Nick, Oregon did or Alabama hasn't beaten anybody. Okay. But when it comes to Alabama, it's not who have you beaten, it's who you lost to.
Right.
So if you're Oregon, I know Oregon has lost, and I for the life of me can't think of who they lost to.
It was early in the season against, I think might have been their opener, wasn't it? I'll check. Go ahead,
right.
Yeah.
So they lost, but Alabama, even though they're not without Tua, their biggest loss right now is going to be against LSU. And every game that LSU wins, and even if they win the SEC, actually looks Alabama better than you think. Then you get Oregon, where it's like, oh, we won the Pac-12, but our 1 loss is against whoever we find out it is. Now, here's where it gets real interesting, because my example was Ohio State, like maybe 2 or 3 years ago, when they lost to Penn State, but that was kind of in the middle of the year. But they didn't fall too hard.
By the way, Oregon lost to Auburn.
Okay.
In the opener.
Okay, yeah. So if you want to be real about it, you would want Oregon to win this game right here because that looks better on your resume. On
by the way,
Oregon.
It's 4th and 10, guys, for Bo Nix and Auburn. This is their last chance, and he drops back to pass in the shotgun, and he's getting pressure.
He's going to get sacked.
And
there you go.
It's over.
And that's game.
So Georgia will win this game, and they will more than likely stay in the top 4.
Yep.
I don't think there's anyone that can jump in over them right now. And Alabama, man, that's a huge loss with Tua. You've got I get it. I get that Nick Saban's the next man up type guy, but they don't look the same without Tua.
They don't.
So we'll see what Alabama does. And honestly, this is a tough one for Auburn because Auburn could have put themselves back into the conversation with a win here,
especially in the SEC West.
Yes. So now that drops them out of pretty much every playoff conversation, as well as SEC. What is it? Would it be?
They would have been in the West. They're in the West.
Yeah. So, yeah, I guess that clears up the picture. But honestly, with Oregon, this was the case with the whole. A BCS system was when you lost too, right?
Right.
So Oregon lost in their first game of the season.
Right.
They haven't lost since.
Right.
Alabama just lost a week ago, right? So now Alabama has more to prove, and certainly I think right now there's definitely better teams in the country right now than Alabama, in my opinion. And I think we'll start to see, because again, it's around this time of the year where you start to see teams play each other. These rivalry week is coming up, and it actually should be the week after Thanksgiving is rivalry week, right?
Usually is rivalry week.
Yeah. So we'll see, man. It'll be a lot of big matchups, especially in the SEC.
Because I think the SEC has like their crap game where they play
they play the
Alabama A&T.
Exactly. Yeah.
Some crappy school, and then they'll get into the Iron Bowl.
That's a team in NCAA games with the generic snake logo, with
yes,
like the yellow, orange, and and the little generic snake logo.
I'm glad you brought that up because Lord knows I can't wait for this.
Man, I can't wait. I've been playing FIFA lately, and all I can be thinking every time I play FIFA, I'm like, I'm kind of getting done with this. I'm kind of getting done with Madden. Kind of getting done with. So I'm like, yeah, I'm ready for that NCAA football.
Yes, that. Hopefully, we'll be getting that announcement coming up soon. But yeah, dude, I was just coming with the Ohio State. Ohio State finished the number 2 team in the country.
Yeah.
Penn State beat Ohio State and won the Big Ten, and they still let Ohio State in, and Penn State was the odd team looking out. Mm-hmm. So now that you don't necessarily have the computer to choose, you now have the committee that still has to look at the AP poll and still has to look at the USA Today poll,
right?
And then they have to come with a decision. And I thought they really dropped the ball by keeping, first of all, Ohio State being the number 2 team in the country. I thought that was a joke. Then you let Ohio State stay at number 2 with Penn State, who had the same conference record. And all in all, by the way, like it should mean something, they were the Big Ten champs that year.
Right.
And they're on the outside looking in at a New Year's Six Bowl instead of being in the playoff. So that's why, once again, I feel like there's going to be a complete clusterbuck with all of this that's going to happen, where an 18 playoff, I feel, has to happen.
Yeah.
Your conference has to mean something. You can't call the Big 12 a Power 5, and you can't call the Pac-12 a Power 5. And the only 3 you're going to talk about is the Big 10, the SEC, and the ACC.
And then penalize the Pac-12 and some of these other conferences because they don't have as strong a division. It's kind of crazy.
It's crazy. So it has to mean something. So that means a team like Notre Dame, if they ever get back to prominence, could be a team that could be. This is simple. This is so simple. Your Power 5 is in, you pick 3 at-large teams, and then based on the polls, you figure out who's playing who and where. Mm-hmm. This is real easy. Here's where I think where college football might look at Big Brother, which I wouldn't say that. It looks like its brother, which is college basketball, and says to himself, okay, I don't know if I want to do this. I give you a perfect example. Remember the year George Mason went to the Final Four?
Yeah.
And everyone was like, oh, this is such a great story of George. No, it wasn't. Because they went in against Florida with Joakim Noah and Corey Brewer. And all for the life of me, I get Al
Al
Horford.
Horford, yeah.
And they got smoked in a national championship game. And that, I think, kind of hurt college basketball for me.
Yeah.
Because everybody and their mom is watching.
Right.
And they're like, oh, this should be a great game. What a great story George Mason is. Let me get my ass whooped by Florida.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, I know Florida went on and beat the brakes off of I forget who to win the national championship, but it doesn't look good, in my opinion, for college basketball. And I feel like maybe college football is thinking the same thing, where it's like, do we really want, let's say if UCF was in this conversation, do we really want UCF to really represent and win college football's national championship?
I mean, let's be
over
honest, Nick.
Alabama.
But let's be honest. Did UCF have a chance against Alabama in the last 2 years? If you put UCF against Alabama, would they? Let's say they played 100 times. How many times would UCF win? In my opinion, maybe one or two.
One if you're lucky.
Because
two if you're lucky,
Alabama is just in a different bracket,
right?
Talent wise, and I just think it's so hard to make that. I don't think it's an if thing. I think it's a when thing, right?
Yeah.
It's like, because at the end of the day, they're going to see that it's going to make more money. And we all know that the NCAA, if it loves one thing, it's money.
Yep.
So they're going to find a way to make this more profitable. I think at the end of the day, though, I think the players have to be extra careful. I think parents of future athletes have to be extra careful.
Yep.
Because at the end of the day, man, we really have to start to look at college football as to what it is. It's a cash-generating endeavor for a lot of people, a lot of already rich people, a lot of people who have nothing to do with football. And at the end of the day, even on a great team like Georgia, Auburn, Alabama, maybe 10% of that team makes it to the league if they're lucky. Maybe. Right. So you're left with 90, if we're being conservative, 80 to 90% of your total team is probably never going to see anything past college football.
Right.
You got to be extra careful about the way you're looking at this thing. And that's going to be the major problem with the college playoff thing. Because you're going to have to find a way to make it so that you don't have these players like an Ed Oliver who's like, you know what? Why would I want to play? I mean, Leonard Fournette did it. A lot of these players have done it where they say, I know that we still have 4 games left, but shit, I'm supposed to be a first-round pick.
Christian McCaffrey.
I'm supposed to be a first-round pick.
Nick Bosa did
I'm not even going to be here next year, so you guys can go do whatever the hell you want, but I'm trying to get this paper. So, it's going to be really interesting to see how they do it. They're going to have to make it so that they're not adding too many games. Like, maybe add 1 game. How about this? Take one of those rinky-dink Florida, A&M, Southern, whatever.
Right.
Take that out of the regular season and add a postseason game. I think it's a good idea. It adds competition, and at the end of the day, it's going to make for better, for a better sort of understanding of who the best team is, right? If you give more teams a shot, you're going to see more competitiveness. And honestly, Nick, the college football playoff, since it's been implemented, hasn't been that fun. Like, remember, there's been a lot of blowout games in those playoffs where it's like 4-1 and that one team beats the 4 team like 50-10, Yeah. To me, that's not fun. And it's not even about fun. It's like that doesn't really, give me a good idea of who the best team is. That's why a team like UCF was even in the conversation, because remember, every single time in the last 2 years, the team that went in that was the last team in always ends up getting blown out.
Right.
And then UCF's like, well, we could have done better than them. You probably couldn't have, but they're going to keep saying that unless you fix the system.
They went Ric Flair talking about we're the real world's champions.
And they're hilarious. Up. They had a parade. I mean, they threw a parade for themselves.
Yes. To being self-proclaimed. Give me a break.
A little bit of a pity party.
Dude, I was looking at some of these stories that's up here on CBS Sports. We see Iowa upset Minnesota, so that's real big.
Man, and not only that makes who did Minnesota beat last week?
Penn
State. That makes Penn State look even worse.
It does.
Because now you got, Iowa, who a team that has struggled so far this season, beating Minnesota, and Minnesota looking like pretenders now.
Yep. The Mets plan to keep Noah Syndergaard. Good luck on that. And then we got 3 NFL stories. We're gonna get to that here in a second.
Oh, and also, Nick, I want to transition really quick to this Kaepernick story.
Yes.
Just spend a minute on it because there's been a little bit of a change. So I'm sure everyone has heard, but Colin Kaepernick was supposed to work out in an NFL sanctioned workout today. It was supposed to be sponsored by the NFL. The NFL was going to put it on and invite a bunch of teams. And this was supposed to be the NFL's way of patting themselves. See, we're helping him. See, we're giving him everything he needs. See, we're not colluding against him. We're not blackballing him. See, we're giving him a workout. Well, apparently, Kaepernick's team started to review some of the details of the deal of the workout, specifically one of the waivers, and decided that they didn't want to sign it. So the workout never happened. Kaepernick said, "Fuck this! Call the local high school. We'll go work out there." They called the local high school. They got a space on the local high school. He brought his own receivers, brought his own team, brought his own cameras. Apparently 8 teams made it to that private workout, and they're going to be sending video to other teams. This is looking like a real thing, looking like it's possibly looking like, Kaepernick will have an opportunity. And, anybody, listen, anybody that tells you that Colin Kaepernick is ready to step in and be an NFL quarterback from day one and ready to take over a team and lead them to the playoffs this year is a fool. But anyone who's telling you that Colin Kaepernick doesn't deserve to be in the league is also an equally big of a fool. Because Colin Kaepernick is as good as any of these backup quarterbacks, these Matt Moores, these other guys who, if Josh McCown can be 41 and coaching high school and teaching college or teaching high school English and then being the Eagles backup within 2 weeks. By the way, that whole Eagles thing happened within 2 weeks of the regular season. Basically, like, oh yeah, we got to start the regular season in 2 weeks. You want to come be our backup? All right, cool, come through. That's all it really took. So it's if we can do that with these guys, we can do that with Kaepernick. Honestly, if the Bears were in a worse position in the backup category, I would say let's look at him, but we really don't have space for him right now. And honestly, a couple of the teams like Atlanta, I don't know what Matt Ryan's status is. Apparently, he is trying to play for the rest of the season. We'll see how that shakes out exactly. But apparently, Atlanta was one of the key ones that wanted to work him out. Not sure if they were one of the 8 teams that got to work him out. But we'll probably have to update you guys next week. By the way, next week, Nick, we're at Reps.
Yes, 3200 Kirchhoff in Rolling Meadows. We'll be up there.
Sir.
Looking forward to that.
That's gonna be awesome. And come on out and see us, guys. I think the plan right now is around 5 o'clock is when we're going to be there. So come check us out around 5 o'clock at Reps in Rolling Meadows.
Yes. This game better not be on NBA TV. It's not the Bulls game. Thank Christ. Because, Lord, I have the NBA.
I was thinking, the Bulls are beating Brooklyn, and then I found out that Kyrie's out today. So.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That is right.
So the Bulls are leading right now by 7. Let's see if they can hold out. Oh, and the Blackhawks have done. Man, let's transition a little bit to hockey because the Blackhawks have been okay the last couple of games. They've been winning games. Here's the thing about the Blackhawks. Last year they had such a terrible year, and they were running this system that was very, attack heavy, but also susceptible to being attacked. So they were leading the league in breakaway opportunities, but they were also leading the league in giving up those breaking away opportunities.
Right.
So what this coach did this year, Jeremy, I believe it's Colleton. I still don't like him. I have a vendetta against him because I think Coach Q. I know people are going to tell me give it up. Q's in Florida. I know, but he still should have never been fired. But anyways, the new coach, I like to call him the Rockford Ice Hogs coach. He basically said, no, we're going to be a dump and chase type team this year. And they played the dump and chase team this year, and we saw what happened. They sucked. They were terrible. They could not play it. And we saw a couple of key cogs on the team, be healthy scratches because they can't play in this system. Well, Jeremy Colleton finally said, you know what? I give up. You guys play how you want to play. And what do you know? The Blackhawks have won, I think, 4 in a row now. They've beaten some really good teams, including Vegas. And I believe who did they take out? Winnipeg as well. So they've taken on some good teams.
Oh, they beat Vegas the other night?
Vegas the other night. So they've had a really nice stretch here. Let's see if they can keep it up there. Obviously, it's early in the season, so they're still in the hunt. But I think, it's encouraging as a Blackhawks fan. You're seeing Kirby Dach, the number 1 pick this year, having a really, big effect already. So I'm very interested to see how the Blackhawks react here, because this is around the time of the Winter Classic. What is it, like December, New Year's, around New Year's is when the Blackhawks tend to sort of try and take their, they try and take it to the next level, right? So we'll see if they're able to do that in the next month and a half to put themselves in the position to be that way.
I'm so confused, dude. Freaking, I don't understand how a game starts at 6:30 and it's now 6:40. And you're still telling me, it's still on preview.
Still on preview.
What are you previewing? Let's get the game going.
Yeah, they have to do all the
Sweet mamacita.
They have to do all the promotions.
Yeah. I love my mother to death. She finally echoes what I'm saying. You know how Neil Funk is supposed to be retiring at the end?
Yeah.
She was like, they could take Stacey King too.
Finally. Oh, wow, mama.
Finally.
You don't like Stacey King?
No, he's annoying as piss.
He's a homer.
Every time
he's like Hawk Harrelson. He's like,
oh, my God. Dude, no, wait. Let me tell you a difference between Hawk and Stacey King. Hawk Harrelson would give you cool stories about when he played against Mickey Mantle and this guy and that guy, whatever.
Carl
and he had very good knowledge of the game. Dude, Stacey King is a complete idiot. Every time. Let me get some hot sauce with that. Shut up. Like, I remember one day, it was the first game against the Knicks. When the game that was in New York when Bobby Portis went off.
Yeah.
There was some blatant, and I'm talking about blatant call that went against the Bulls, and this man's like, oh, no, that should be on the Knicks. I'm like, dude, are we watching this? You're on the sidelines with your stupid ass with a monitor in front of you. I'm just watching the game in this big HD TV, and I'm seeing the complete opposite of you. You're annoying, dude. I hope Neil Funk takes Stacey King with him.
Neil Funk's about 2 years too late on that retirement, too.
You know who Neil Funk reminds me of a lot? Al Michaels. Always 5 minutes late to the play. Dude, Al Michaels drives me nuts. I can't. Everyone keeps saying how much they hate Chris Collinsworth on Sunday Night Football.
I like him.
I like Chris. Yeah. It's Al Michaels I can't stand.
Yeah.
2 weeks ago when Dallas was playing, when they blew out Philly, whoever the backup tight end is in Philadelphia, Goddard,
Dallas
I think
Goddard,
it is. Caught a touchdown pass.
And he called him Zach Ertz, didn't he?
No. The man gets up with the ball. They call a touchdown. They put the 7 points on it. Al Michaels is still trying to figure out if it's a touchdown. Gee, you're 2 minutes too late. We already figured it out.
Yeah, he does
what
that
a
lot
doing?
Too. He does that a lot too. You're right. Yeah, you're right.
But
Neil Funk is even worse because Neil Funk is like, when you start to calling the wrong numbers, saying the wrong player names.
He did that a lot in the Knicks game.
Yeah, he's been like that for the last couple of years. He's not that old. I don't know if it's something health-wise with him, but he does it a lot where it's like, man, Bobby Portis in there, and it's clearly Julius Randle, or like, he does that a lot. So, and also something that Neil does that really bothers me to no end is he tries to provide color. We both come from sort of this background of broadcasting, so we understand what a play-by-play guy is and what a color guy is, right? The play-by-play guy is supposed to be setting up the color guy for all intents and purposes. You're not supposed to be giving analysis, right? You're not supposed to be saying, well, I don't really think that was a very good play by that player. And Neil Funk does a lot of that. And I'll tell you what, Neil Funk, you don't look like you've ever played a quarter of basketball in your life, so you should never, he does it a lot with opposing players, like, I don't know what he was thinking, or it's like leave that to Stacey. But
Mike Breen does that a lot too.
Mike Breen, he
does that a lot because he's usually the guy on Knicks games. Yeah, and unless he's got to do the ESPN thing.
Mike Breen's blowing up, man.
Yeah, he is.
He's not playing around.
Yeah, he is. But he does that a lot too, where like he's always giving his opinion. I don't think that's a good shot. I don't think it's.
And you got Walt Frazier next to you, dude. It's like you don't even have to.
Let me.
You're not a big You're not a big Walt guy.
I like Walt, but I think he's getting old. He doesn't really like bring anything to the table anymore. Like they'll be like, here comes Julius Randle. Yeah, Julius averages like 19 points a game.
He's just reading it off the paper in front of him.
Dude,
Yeah,
he's not giving you color. He's not really giving you anything to really write home with. And that's why Wally Zerbiak has been starting to take a lot of his games on the road. And Wally Zerbiak, I think, is a monster. I really like Wally Zerbiak. So
yeah. No, I actually love Wally Zerbiak. And you know who else is good at that? That I think will get a play soon enough is Richard Jefferson.
Yes,
he's been doing a lot of like The Jump and a lot of like ESPN shows, but I think he should get into play by play. I think he'll do a good job at it.
Dude, I am so trying to get this game up, and
it was just going. What happened,
dude? I don't know, dude.
I have a good streaming site if you need it, but let me know.
Allegedly,
I don't actually have one, but we'll see.
I have I have the league pass.
You have the league pass. Yeah, you might as well put it to use if you're gonna pay for that thing.
Yeah, dude, I have the league pass, and the Knicks are just blowing up the
Hey, Nick, while you're doing that, can I tell our great listeners and watchers, viewers, about one of our sponsors?
Si, senor.
Okay, perfect. Well, I want to tell you guys about Intrinsic Marketing, because I know you guys know about Intrinsic Marketing by now because you're a viewer and the listener of the show, and we've mentioned Intrinsic pretty heavily on this podcast. But Intrinsic Marketing is all the services you need under one roof, guys. You started a business because you believe in what you do, so let Intrinsic Marketing bring your product or service to the market. That's what they do best, guys. Intrinsic has the services, tools, and expertise to make it happen all in one place. Services include web design, social media, copywriting, targeted ads. We're talking design, development, and hosting. Everything you need to get your stuff up online. Comprehensive social media management services scaled to fit your specific needs. Blog posts, articles, sales material, press releases, and much, much more, guys. Do us a favor. Don't take our word for it. See for yourself. Visit intrinsicchicago.com. That's INTRINSIC Chicago.com. Again, guys, the website is intrinsicchicago.com. INTRINSIC Chicago.com. Oh man, yeah. So I've been getting into my Premier League stuff more and more now, Nick, and there's no Premier League this weekend because of the international break. So there's a lot of international play going. Messi just had another tremendous game for Argentina against Brazil. They played in Saudi Arabia, I think, and there's a lot of talk about FIFA getting in trouble about how they're calling games for Messi. And what my response to that is, try the NBA. Try watching a game where LeBron's playing and try seeing if you can get away with anything on LeBron. You can't. Try watching Durant or Steph or Clay in their heyday a couple years ago.
Right.
It was tough to watch because the game was being called because of Clay and Steph and KD and LeBron. So in a certain way, the big thing for me, man, is Messi. He's a global player, one of the best players to ever put on the boots.
Facts.
And I think, CR7 Cristiano is more flashy, certainly.
Yes.
I think Cristiano has a lot more flash to his game, and I tend to like Cristiano more, but I think it's just so hard to deny that Messi is by far the best football player in the world. He's having some injury issues right now, and I think that's the main reason why Brazil was upset, was that he was getting a lot of calls going his way, fouls and yellow cards were being called, and he was doing a lot of complaining to the refs. So, again, I'd like to see you guys watch an NBA game and see if you can try that, because every game is determined by the superstar. If you're playing the Lakers that game, your game plan is already knowing that LeBron's going to get every call, James Harden's going to get every call, Russell Westbrook's. So, you have to play the game according to who you're playing, and quite frankly, I think that's what Argentina was doing, and Brazil is refusing to do. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I think Premier League is going to be back next week. So I've been getting super into the Prem League. So I'm hoping that My new team is I used to like Arsenal a lot.
Yes.
Arsenal's a pretty dope team. I've been following Liverpool a lot because of how good they are this year. And Mohamed Salah, he's a Egyptian player for Liverpool, one of the best goal scorers in the world. And Liverpool is just an amazing team. Jurgen Klopp is an amazing coach. But I really like the Wolverhampton Wolves. They've got an amazing, sort of style of play. They're fun to watch. So I'll keep you guys updated on my soccer. I want to call it football endeavors. So I'll give you guys a little football update every week for us.
For sure. Okay, we're gonna see if this stream can kind of keep.
You know what?
Keep
I think
up.
you know what I can do. Let me get off the Wi-Fi. Let's see if that helps. Oh my goodness.
I know there's a beat down going on over there. All right, so let's get into the coup de grace, which is the NFL.
Yes, sir.
I mean, nobody really cares that the Browns beat the Steelers on Thursday.
No one cares. But let's talk. Let's just jump right into the conversation.
But we're gonna get into it because we had some controversy that happened at the end of the game on Thursday. So. If you didn't see, Myles Garrett got suspended for the remainder of the year indefinitely and the playoffs if the Browns do happen to make it.
And it's possible that he'll get suspended into next year, too. Yeah. They're saying they're going to leave the door open on that.
And so if you didn't see what happened, at the end of the game, Myles Garrett, I guess, was either about to sack or at least hit Mason Rudolph. Mason Rudolph was on top of Myles Garrett's head.
Trying to take his helmet off.
Looking like he was trying to take his helmet off. Okay. Myles Garrett seemingly got extremely pissed off, got up, was trying to rip the helmet off of Mason Rudolph. In succession of that happening, if you didn't see, Mason Rudolph had his foot on the nuts.
On the nuts, yeah.
Of whatever his name, Myles Garrett.
Myles Garrett, yeah.
Myles Garrett successfully gets the helmet off of Mason Rudolph, and as he's being held back, swings and successfully connects to Mason Rudolph's head.
Yeah.
Which then Marquise Pouncey and another Steelers player jumps on Myles Garrett. Marquise Pouncey is now kicking Myles Garrett in the head, and it caused a huge brouhaha.
And Larry Ogunjobi, defensive tackle for the Browns, came and basically blindsided, pushed Mason Rudolph to the ground.
Right.
Very, to me, harmless. In the scheme of things.
Harmless. And so I think Pouncey got 3 games. I think Ogunjobi got 1. And Myles Garrett got the blunt, which we just mentioned a minute ago, was the remainder of the season if they end up going to the playoffs, and then potentially for the rest or it going into next year. Here's a problem I have with all this that happened. If the NFL is that damn stupid they didn't understand what made Myles Garrett go off and Mason Rudolph gets a slap on the wrist, I will
nothing. I mean,
the NFL at that point is a joke.
That's a joke, dude.
It's a joke.
Like, I mean, to me, man, I'm not going to sit here and defend what Myles did.
Right. No
one's going to do that. I'll be honest with you. If he hit him with the crown, and Louis Riddick, shout out to Louis Riddick, one of the better NFL analysts on ESPN, he said this, and I think this was the most overlooked part about this whole thing. If Myles Garrett has the helmet in his hand in the opposite way, with the crown facing the other way, and he hits Mason Rudolph with the crown of that helmet, he could have killed him.
Yep.
I don't want to be dramatic and be that guy to blow it out of proportion, but we could have seen a very different scene if the part of the helmet that hit Mason was different.
Right.
And we could have seen blood. And again, if he hits him in the right spot, we've seen guys die from blows like that.
Right.
So terrible, terrible decision on Myles' part.
Right.
But it's insane that you give Larry Ogunjobi 1 game and give Mason Rudolph 0.
Yep.
It's insane. And I'll be honest with you, Nick, I thought Mason Rudolph, if you watch the actual tape from the snap, it was a screenplay. During a screenplay, the offensive lineman is letting the defensive lineman go, right? He's giving the defensive lineman the thought process that you're going to get to the quarterback, but really I'm just trying to get out here to block for the screen pass, right? So I think the nature of the play made Myles Garrett think, I got this. I'm going in. And by the way, the game was way out of hand at this point. I don't know why Myles Garrett was in the game. I get it. It's like, whatever. You're not going to take him out for that. But to me, man, what Myles Garrett did was a reaction. And we're not acknowledging how and what he reacted to. And what I saw when you watched the scrum on the ground, what I saw is a guy in Mason Rudolph who threw 4 picks that night.
Yep.
And had a terrible night and lost his team that game. Let's be honest, the Browns didn't really do much to separate themselves from the Steelers. It was very much just banking on the fact that Mason Rudolph was going to turn over the ball, and he did so 4 times. So, the Steelers, man, they were in a tough position. They were losing the game and obviously going to lose the game at that point. And what I saw is a frustrated guy trying to sort of get back at the Browns. And, I don't know what exactly he was trying to do. I don't know if you have a guess for me, but I don't know what the way that he was moving his hands was like as if he was trying to pry the helmet off of Myles Garrett's head.
Right.
We also see the foot that's in the groin area. We also see that, at some point he has his hand next to Myles Garrett's neck.
Yes.
So it's not like this was a regular play that happened and Myles Garrett just flew off the handle and ripped his helmet off and hit him with it. I think this was a reaction. Did Mason Rudolph deserve to be suspended for the rest of the season? No, absolutely not. But if you're going to give Ogunjobi 1 game for pushing Mason Rudolph to the ground in the midst of this skirmish, I would say you should give Mason Rudolph at least 1 game for that as well.
He has to get at least something. And the one thing that kind of killed me, though, was there was a lot of people trying to play the race card. And I was like, okay, I see where you're coming with it. But then I heard a great point this morning. Didn't Richie Incognito get suspended damn near 2-3 years for bullying Jonathan Marin for as long as he did? So you can't really use the race card on that. Well, if this was a black quarterback or this and that or whatever else, because, I don't think that's really coming into play.
No.
But at the same time, the NFL, see, everyone's sitting here saying, oh, Myles Garrett's a thug, and we can't do this, and this is the most despicable thing that I've ever seen. But you're not gonna sit there and talk about Mason Rudolph that's laying on this man's head and shoulder and everything. Yeah. Like Mason Rudolph couldn't hurt this man the way that he was acting. Yeah. So let's stop trying to look at the reaction of things. And it's going, oh my God, here we go. It's going to lead to exactly what I was thinking about this at work earlier today. And I was like, this is what drives me nuts about people. Never mind the NFL. I'm just talking about people in general.
In general, yeah.
Everyone keeps looking at the reaction to something, but nobody wants to look at the reason why it's being done.
Yeah.
It's why this whole Kaepernick thing got blown out of proportion in the first place. Oh, how dare you sit during the national anthem? That's what it sounded like. That's what everyone was sounding like. How dare you sit during the national anthem?
Disrespecting the troops when he's never said one thing about the troops.
You're disrespecting the troops. How dare you?
Yeah, that's
so
funny.
Let's add on to that. A U.S. veteran came in and said, hey, bro, that is kind of disrespectful. But if you kneel,
maybe you should kneel. Maybe you should kneel.
Colin Kaepernick, out of respect, said, I will kneel.
Yeah.
Here comes every other American. All this holy moly Americans come in. How dare you kneel? How dare you listen to the U.S. veteran? Never mind that it's the veteran that said, how dare you listen to that?
Never mind the hundreds of veterans who have come out and said, I serve for Colin Kaepernick's right to be able to protest. Yeah.
Oh, we're not trying to hear that crap. No, hell no. Either you stand or you don't love America. Here comes Colin Kaepernick. I never meant to disrespect troops. I'm just saying that there's a lot of things that's going on in this country that needs to be addressed. But Neil, it's not going to do it, though. You can't do it like that. That's bullshit. How dare you? That's what everyone sounds like, right?
Yeah.
Now, let's keep on going. Then to make it worse, everyone was like, or they asked Colin Kaepernick, hey, yo, Colin, did you vote? No, I didn't vote. Oh, how dare you? You're a hypocrite. How dare you didn't vote? And guess what? Newsflash, idiots. I didn't vote either. Who's I supposed to vote for? So let's work on this.
Yeah.
Hillary Clinton. Yeah. Well, blacks are super predators.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's the president I want, right? Donald Trump. Said something ignorant about blacks himself.
Yeah.
Even though he's got 2 black women in his payroll going up there doing all that hoo-ha about that wall and
they
everything.
Love shucking. They love shucking and driving for him.
Yeah, shucking and driving. Oh, yeah, look, man, we got some black people get Trump. So who's Colin supposed to vote for? The super predator or the man that keeps saying stupid stuff that comes out of his mouth? Everybody, their mama started getting him on that.
The voting thing really gets me because, one of my favorite quotes from Malcolm X is, "A vote is like a bullet, right? A vote is like a bullet. Like if you don't feel the type of conviction to pull the trigger, then you should never even load the gun to start, right?
Exactly.
It's this thought process that, I think a lot of us have seen the type of shadow play that's happened in politics, and everyone is sort of starting to wake up to it. Part of the reason why Donald Trump was elected in the first place was because people were just tired of the behind the scenes of the political world, and that nothing was getting done. And by the way, you guys are making money hand over fist, and we're paying more taxes than ever, and we're not taxing the rich, we're not taxing corporations. Meanwhile, Jeff Bezos, is richer than 99% of the people that have ever been on Earth, and yet
it's not even close.
And yet Amazon workers are pissing in water bottles because they don't get the bathroom break. And by the way, they don't get benefits anymore if they're part time. This is such a sham that I think people woke up and said, I don't believe in either one of these candidates. And to say. Because I'll be honest with you, Nick, it's not just Republicans who say it. There's a lot of Democrats who say, well, see, look at what Trump is doing. This is all your fault. You didn't vote. To be quite honest, man, both of us are in Illinois. Hillary won pretty handily in Illinois. I don't think Trump ever had a chance. He did better than what they thought, but I don't think he ever had a chance of winning in Illinois. So if you're really truly informed about the political process, which is the Electoral College and some of these other ways that we do it, that really, my vote really is, it's not one vote. It counts. It really doesn't. It really, in the grand scheme of things, it's a game that's far larger than one vote. Your single vote makes a huge difference. At the end of the day, man, this has always been a pipe dream for me. And I don't want to get too far off the topic, but Colin Kaepernick was very much right in saying what he said. And I think he's been very consistent with his message. The Your Rights camp has been amazing. He's been doing some amazing charity. I think he's donated over $3 million in the last couple of years, and
but nobody wants to talk about that.
Nobody wants to talk about the inner city programs. Nobody wants to talk about he's done a lot of stuff with veterans as well. It's the scapegoat mentality because when I grew up, my dad told me that anybody that doesn't put their hand on their heart during the anthem doesn't love America, and it's just this. We're so obsessed with this. And it also comes from both sides. The whole Myles Garrett and to take it back to the Myles Garrett and Mason Rudolph thing, there's this huge reaction of like, oh my God, just visceral, like everyone wants to be mad. And at the end of the day, sometimes I have to remind somebody at work, he's like, that was despicable. I can't believe I saw something of that type of. I said, you are watching a bunch of grown men hit each other at full speed, trying to take each other's head off every play.
Thank you.
To me, man, if you're one of those guys like, my children were watching, how dare he swing that helmet? At the end of the day, your children are watching guys get brain damage either way, right? So, to me, man, it's a very hypocritical, this new sort of thought process on the Myles Garrett thing. I just think it's unfortunate. It sucks. It happened. It's an emotional game, right? I think that's what everyone kept saying after the game in the post game. It was an emotional game and rivalry. By the way, these two teams don't have a very good history.
Hell no.
so they don't like each other as it is. And then again with the Steelers losing the way that they were, Mason Rudolph being terrible the way he was that night. And by the way, Myles Garrett, I love him. I know this guy's background. His history is a number 1 overall pick, one of the smarter young fellas in the league, and he's going to be one of the best. He's going to remain one of the best defensive ends in the league. But he has a history of this. he has a history of the helmet to helmet hits. He has a history of the roughing the passers. Not necessarily to the degree of hitting somebody with a helmet, but we've seen some boneheaded plays out of this Myles Garrett, and we've seen some boneheaded plays out of the Browns. At what point, Nick, do you look at Freddie Kitchens and say, do you have control of this team?
Yes.
Do you have control of what these guys are doing right now?
Yes.
It's ridiculous. Nobody's talking about Freddie Kitchens right now, and it's funny because the only person that wants to talk about Freddie Kitchens are guys from Pittsburgh Steelers who are basically saying, like, honestly, people are with the Steelers are sympathizing with Myles Garrett more because they're like, honestly, you can't blame Myles Garrett because who's the guy who made Myles Garrett comfortable in doing something like that?
Yep.
We've seen 1,000. Nick, just this year, I've seen dozens of fights in the NFL, dozens of scrums and melees. It seems like it happens every 5 or 10 plays. I've seen guys hold their opponent's helmet in their hand. I've never seen somebody wield it and use it as a weapon before. I will guarantee you we will never see it again.
No, we won't.
I will guarantee you we'll never see it again.
No, we won't.
Because now we know that Myles Garrett, what he did, and I just can't imagine what was going through his head at that moment. I think it was probably something that we can't really fathom, but it's embarrassing. It's tough for the league, but I don't think
I could probably tell you what was going on in Myles Garrett's head. He's probably saying, wait a minute, this white boy's over here trying to win. I'm finna kill this MF. He's got his knee on my goddamn neck. The man got
my crotch,
off. But here comes every model citizen in America.
Right.
Oh, how dare he? That is a thuggish-like mentality. That is bull. There is nothing in there that should be. It's like a guy that gets penalized. Like, if you push somebody and you turn around, you knock them upside the head. They didn't see that first push.
Right.
But they showed them see you get knocked
that's
upside the head, right?
Yeah.
So we just going to totally ignore how Myles Garrett damn near got choked out by Mason Rudolph because he was mad because he got hit and he's playing like complete doo-doo the entire game.
Yeah.
If I was, what's his name, I'd have ripped his head off too. And then you going to put your foot on my nuts because you acting like a straight bitch.
Oh.
Now I'm going to knock you upside your head with this helmet.
Yeah.
And then so F you to Mason Rudolph, because if you would have just stayed your stupid ass on the ground and not think you was finna take on this man that could have whooped your ass in any other capacity, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Yeah.
So Myles Garrett, in my opinion, got hit with the bait and switch. But piss off to everybody trying to make Myles Garrett seem like this huge monster when the beast got poked and the beast came out.
Chances are
that's bull.
Chances are, for the people who are complaining about this at that level, Thursday night was the first time they ever saw Myles Garrett. Ever found out about him. They've never seen him before. Didn't even know he's a number 1 overall pick. Didn't know he's one of the smartest.
Like, oh my God, who's this guy?
Yeah, didn't know he's one of the smartest and kindest guys in the league. And his whole, and I'll be honest with you, Nick, I was surprised by the way the Browns handled it. I was surprised by the way that Baker Mayfield handled it. He threw Myles under the bus. I understand you don't come out and condone what he did, but to say that it was he said something along the lines of like it was a. I don't know what he said, but he didn't come out in support, and I don't expect you to come out in support of a guy who swung his helmet at an opponent's head. But I'd like to see some uniformity, and that's why I say Freddie Kitchens. Somebody's got to say something about this guy because what he's doing right now is certainly not. It's not leadership. I don't know what he's doing right now. It's this thought process, and by the way. Todd Haley was the guy who came out and said that Freddie Kitchens needs to be held accountable. Todd Haley, by the way, is the guy that was the offensive coordinator last year for this team, and he was let go when Hugh Jackson was let go, and just so happens that Freddie Kitchens took his job. So maybe take that with a grain of salt. Maybe he is, still a little bit salty about what happened before, but still worth mentioning that Todd Haley basically said, yeah, when is somebody going to say, hey, Freddie Kitchens, are you going to do anything about this? Are you going to do anything about, he said something along the lines of like, OBJ and Landry wearing the clown shoes and constantly breaking rules and regulations of the league. At some point you do have to look at the coach and say, do you have control of this team?
Is Shogun who was still fighting?
He is, and he's fighting tonight, which is pretty crazy. And I would expect him to. It hasn't looked pretty for him. He's one of those guys that I think may have blew through the original set of money that he had through them. But yeah, he was supposed to fight somebody else, but now he'll be fighting Paul Bear Jew Craig. And then, by the way, Bear Jew, yeah, very good nickname. And then the main event of this card, guys, is Jan Blachowicz versus Jacare Souza. So that's a pretty interesting matchup. We'll see what happens. Jan just came off of knocking Luke Rockhold's soul out of his body, and Jacare is coming off a little bit of a layover. So we'll see how that fight goes. But Nick, do you want to jump into the NFL action this week?
Let's do it.
I'll pull up our games for us this week so you can continue to search for that.
God bless, dude. I cannot believe that I am struggling to get this goddamn game. Like, it's on there, but the SOB won't flip and just stay. It's talking loading. About, it's like it loads for 4 seconds and then all of a sudden it's it can't work.
Well, I got a backup just in case, so let me know.
I do too, my phone.
Yeah. Oh, okay, yeah. You're trying to avoid that. If anything, throw the Facebook on there. And
that's what I was trying to do, but Lord knows I don't know what my password is.
Oh, me neither. I'm not good on that.
Yeah, I have it saved, and that's about it. You know what? Screw this. Yeah, I'm just going to bust out my phone here.
Nick, we got 8 12 o'clock window games tomorrow.
Yes,
let's start with one of the more intriguing matchups of the week, the Lions and the Cowboys. The Cowboys are going to be at Detroit. Matthew Stafford is not going to be playing in this game. And
let's talk about that for a second. I'm glad that got brought up because Detroit might be in a little bit of trouble here.
Yeah, you think?
So last week, nobody told. Okay, this what happened. Matt Stafford was ruled out first thing Sunday morning.
Right. When he was technically not on the injury report for most of the week. Right.
Now, Lions players have come out, in technical foot and mouth disease. I don't even know why you even say about this. Says, wait a minute. We knew that what's-his name was going to be out on Saturday. So the NFL said, hold on a second. Y'all was supposed to tell us on Saturday that Matthew Stafford went in. So now the Lions are in some trouble.
Yeah.
So now they finally came out and said that Matthew Stafford, who supposedly has been playing with broken backbones or something like that over the last couple of weeks or so.
Well, that's the thing that the Lions are saying is that, well, he's been playing through this injury, so how can we report it? And the big thing though is that he needs to be on the injury report.
Yes.
He needs to be on the injury report, and you just like every other guy who does it, be on the injury report all week, but play on Sunday.
Yep.
Clearly, what they were trying to do is throw the Bears off. That was pretty obvious to me. They're trying to throw the Bears off in hopes that they could steal one against the Bears, and it didn't happen. So,
no, it didn't work at all.
So, and this week it's going to be even rougher because you got the Cowboys who, quite frankly, the Cowboys should be extra motivated right now. They're 5-4. It's crazy to think about this team being 5-4 when we talked about them the first 3 weeks as possibly one of the better teams in the league.
Oh my God. Dude, you want to know? You want to know when the Dallas Cowboys will get better? The day that they fired Jason Garrett. Dude.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious.
Like if you're Jerry Jones, okay, this is why I'm saying. At some point, Jerry Jones has to play George Steinbrenner III. Before George Steinbrenner III passed, he was Jerry Jones, basically. They were one mirror image of one another.
GM, owner.
They were GM, owner. Yeah. I signed the checks. I make the moves. This is what I want. This is who I want.
If you want a different type of cheese in the macaroni, you tell me. I'm the one. You
tell me, and I'll let you know. Right. That's all Brian Cashman really was.
Sure.
He was the general manager, but he was he was like, hey, boss, I was wondering if we could sign ABCXYZ.
Sure.
Nah, I don't like him. Oh, I'll give you a prime example. Vladimir Guerrero versus Gary Sheffield.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's true.
All signs was pointing Vlad Guerrero's a Yankee, etched it in stone, baby. Not if you're George Steinbrenner III. He said, hell no, I want Gary Sheffield.
That's right.
And he signed Gary Sheffield and let Vladimir Guerrero go sign with the Los Angeles Angels.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Wow. And Sheffield was fresh off the Dodgers stint, right? Or was he off the Atlanta stint? Or was Atlanta, or was it? I want to say
It was a playoff team, though.
It was the Dodgers, was it not?
I think so.
I think it might have been the Dodgers.
It was either Dodgers or Atlanta, and they were on a playoff run.
That's right, yeah. And he had a good playoff. He had a good playoff.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
And what's his name was like, no, I want Gary Sheffield. And that's what they got. Well, that's the same thing with Jerry Jones.
Right.
Jerry Jones right now is making all these moves. And I'm pretty sure that I think his son is underneath him.
Yeah.
And other people, and they're like, yo, Jerry, we should do this. Nah. I won 3 Super Bowls in the 90s.
Right. And I signed the checks. Yeah.
And I signed the checks. It'll be my moves. Sure. Like, for instance, remember the year, and I love bringing this up. Remember the year when they were damn near close to getting Darren McFadden?
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And they ended up with Felix Jones.
Yeah.
He's like, well, Felix Jones was number 1 running back for the whole time.
That's so hilarious.
You a goddamn lie. There's no way you're going to sit there and tell me that you thought that Felix Jones was a better running back than Darren McFadden.
Yeah.
You was a goddamn lie.
They're on the same damn team. We know who's better.
Thank you. Yeah. And the only reason why Felix Jones even got sniffs was because at some point DMC damn near broke his leg.
Yeah, that's right.
That's the only reason why you would think that Felix Jones was better with your salty dumb ass. And that's where he's at now. Because unless what's his name has naked pictures of his wife doing something.
At this point, I wouldn't put it past him because what does Jason Garrett have to do? You know, the big thing that Jason Garrett does is he wins you a couple of games in a row, and he tricks you into thinking, I've got a handle on this, right? And then they
don't
come
worry,
out,
boss. I got
this. Trust me. Because here's the thing: if the season was reversed and they started off playing like this, his head would be on a stake.
Right.
But because they started off, doing so well, Dak had such a good job, and everyone was praising. Let's be honest. Everyone was praising Kellen Moore like he was like, oh, Sean McVay is coming. He's going to be the next head coach, and he's going to and honestly, all I've seen the last couple of weeks is a team that's looked outmatched, honestly. The Cowboys have not looked really great, and they haven't been using a lot of their weapons. It's kind of crazy. It's like, to me, Dak has been wildly ineffective. And a lot of that has to do with just not putting him in the right positions and not really doing the right things to, let's be honest, the Dallas defense has not been doing them any favors either.
Hell no.
So yeah, it's an interesting thing, but they're 5-4 right now, and let's be honest, I mean, they are right now. I know that they're still in it with the division, but man, like if you drop to 5-5 and the Bears are at 5-5 and they win tomorrow, and you're in some serious competition in the NFC
because it makes that game very interesting.
Very interesting. I was going to say it happens. I believe if it's not Thanksgiving week, it's the week after. But
no, it's definitely the week after.
The week after.
The Bears are in New York. In Detroit.
Oh, that's right. Okay, yeah. So no, I mean the consensus with this one is that everyone's willing to give it to the Cowboys right away. I would say hold that thought. I really would. I would say the Lions' defense is good enough to keep them in the game, and if the Lions' offense, because I'll be honest with you, I wasn't impressed with this. I want to say, was it Orlovsky? No, it was what is the name of the guy who played for Detroit last week? Oh my God, it's gonna kill me. What is this gentleman's name? Jeff Driscoll, excuse me. Dan Orlovsky, maybe from 4 years ago.
Could have been Cap.
Yeah, I was going to say, but it's Jeff Driscoll. But yeah, no, Jeff
still
Driscoll.
Got Brian Hoyer throwing passes in Indianapolis.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, good luck with that, Indy. But yeah, no, the Driscoll honestly wasn't terrible last week. He did have that pick. But honestly, I think he'll do well enough to keep Detroit in the game. I would say if you're a betting person, I would probably I would honestly, because right now Dallas is a 7-point favorite. I honestly think this is going to be a close game. I think right now Dallas needs to come out and run the ball more than they have, and I think they need to honestly
effectively.
But to me, Nick, they're not committing to it enough. Meaning, you're not creating beneficial patterns. What you're doing is run, pass, run, pass, run, pass, run, pass, pass, run, pass. It has to be this thing of like, you're going to know I'm going to run and I'm still going to run.
Right.
I'm going to tell you I'm running left and I'm still going to run left and I'm still going to get 4 yards. This is what we have to see out of the Cowboys. You can't as good as Dak is, you cannot rely on him to win you games quite yet.
Right.
He has to be a guy that is in the flow of the offense. The defense is doing really well. He's getting good opportunities in good field position and taking advantage of them. But yeah, this is going to be an interesting game. I'll still take Dallas in this one, but again, if you're a betting person, I wouldn't be surprised if the Lions cover here.
Yeah, I'm taking Dallas to win. If it was Stafford, maybe I would think otherwise, but the fact that it's going to be your backup in Driscoll, and this is a must-win for Dallas, I think, going forward, because they're, you mentioned they're 5-4. Mm-hmm. Let's say if you mess up and win, you lose, and then isn't Philly like 4-5?
Philly's 4-5, and then the Bears are 4-5, and then
so not only are you battling for the East, but at this point you're also battling for a potential wild card spot if you don't be careful.
Yeah, because don't forget, Minnesota has done so well this year, and the Packers have done so well this year. We may see 3 teams come out of the North this year if the Bears can get their shit together. So yeah, Dallas has got to win this one.
Yeah, so I'll take Dallas on this one.
Okay, cool. We both got Dallas there. Next 12 o'clock window game will be the 4-5 Jacksonville Jaguars going against Indianapolis 5-4. We talked about Brian Hoyer. I feel bad for, Frank Reich that he had to trot out Brian Hoyer. It looks like Jacoby Brissett is back this week.
Yes.
So that should certainly help the Colts. The Colts also have a lot of issues at wide receiver right now. T.Y. Hilton's out. Paris Campbell's out. They're relying on guys like Zach Pascal and
who's actually been playing
pretty well. And I know they relied heavily on the tight ends last week, Ebron and Doyle. So I see, and by the way, Gardner Minshew, we might have seen the last of Gardner Minshew this week. It's possible that Nick Foles right now will be ready. I think, if I'm not mistaken, let me double check here. So this week, 11-17, we will see the Jaguars face the Colts. Next week they face the Titans, and then they have their bye. Next week they face their Titans. That was the original date that was set for Nick Foles to come back.
Right.
So right now we might have seen the last of Gardner Minshew. And honestly, I don't think, even if he has like a 5-touchdown game and they win this game, I still think you probably bring back Nick Foles and you say, let's see what we can do with Foles. Because right now they're 4-5. Jacksonville's 4-5. As much as you want to, play up Minshew mania, they're 4-5. And although that's not terrible, I still think you want Nick Foles to come in, and I think you would be happy to see Nick Foles come in here and take over the reins. But yeah, I would be surprised to see them win this game this week, even with all the injury troubles that Indianapolis has. By the way, Indianapolis only 2.5-point favorites there. So Jacksonville right now seems to be giving away some points here. What do you got?
There we go. Call time.
Call that time. Is it
It's kind of working. It's jumping in and out, but it's doing a lot better. Don't touch it. Yeah, it's doing a lot better than it was.
So
I kind of agree with you, but I kind of disagree with you.
Okay.
I don't feel Nick Foles really makes this team any better than what they are.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I don't think that Gardner Minshew is more or less the problem of what ails the
Jaguars.
Ails the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think they're inconsistent in the run game with Leonard Fournette. They're in the same boat as Indianapolis, where they really don't have any wide receivers. And Minshew has made the best out of what they had. You're right. And then where I do agree with you, it's not like the Jaguars are 7-2 and this is a no-brainer situation. So I feel like Jacksonville's kind of in a pickle. Who'd you say they played this week?
Jacksonville is they're at the Colts, yeah.
And then with Indianapolis, with Indy, they need Brissett back. It's so funny. I was thinking about this. It's so funny about the Indianapolis Colts. First, you had Andrew Luck. Then when Andrew Luck went down, it's like, oh, damn, we got to play Jacoby Brissett. He sucks. Crap. Right. Now you got Jacoby Brissett 2-3 years later with a few games under his belt and the confidence of his team. And then when he goes down, oh my God, it's like, damn, we got to play Brian Hoyer. And he sucks. Yeah. Like they can't just find a formidable backup. There's Colin Kaepernick, but what do I know? Right. Anyway, I'm gonna take Indianapolis at home. Yeah. Especially with Brissett back, I think they become a better team. And then I think Brissett makes the throws that Brian Hoyer, who acts like he's never been in the league before, can make. So
yeah, that's true.
I will take Indianapolis in this game.
Honestly, though, Nick, that loss against the Dolphins last week was pretty tough.
Yep, and that's how you know you needed them back.
That's true. Yeah. So yeah, I think we'll both take the Colts in that one, especially at home. That's gonna be a tough one to pick against them. On next 12 o'clock window game, Nick, we got the 6-3 Buffalo Bills going against the streaking Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, dude.
2 in a row for the Dolphins, and they'll be at home here. It's actually pretty interesting. 6.5-point favorites are the Bills. I think this is the first time that the Dolphins won't be more than or double digit underdog. So they're starting to get a little bit more respect, but still, let's pump the brakes a little bit. I think Buffalo's got the defense to sort of to.
But here's the problem with Buffalo is that their offense is still struggling for whatever reason. Josh Allen, I don't know. I feel like he's taking a couple steps back. They're not committing to the run. Again, Buffalo has no wide receivers for Josh Allen to throw to, and they're sorely relying on the defense. So this is what I would do. If I was a betting man, I would choose Buffalo to win, but I don't think they cover the 6.5. I think right now there's a small bit of the Fitz magic swag that we saw a little bit in Tampa last year in the first 2 games that's kind of made its way back to Buffalo, and he seems to have more of the respect of his team than Josh Rosen probably will ever have. So I think in Miami's case, I would go with Buffalo with the win, but I would take Miami plus the 6.5.
There's something about Fitz magic. He's
it's only good for like 3 games.
Yeah, but it's also this thing of like, you never know what you're going to get.
Right.
But his teammates love playing with him.
They do.
Playing for him. And the offensive line seems to do a better job when he's in there, meaning I think the one thing that Fitz has that Rosen really struggled with is that Fitz just knows how to move in the pocket.
Yep.
He's not the most mobile guy, but he'll run and get yards for you if he needs to.
Right.
And quite frankly, he's a gritty guy that people love to play with. Sometimes that's all you need, right? Sometimes all you need is just a guy who's like going to give you his all, and maybe he's not the best quarterback, but he's going to give you his all. It's interesting, but yeah, I got Buffalo here. I think this is a perfect game for Devin Singletary to break out. It's a perfect game for Josh Allen to have a big game. Honestly, Nick, I'm interested because let's not forget Buffalo traded Zay Jones.
Yep.
I know Zay Jones isn't like Randy Moss, but you had this big receiver that could get separation from the defense. And it seems like you have none of those left now. It's like Cole Beasley and John Brown.
Right.
And they're both the same type of wide receiver, and both of them need space to be effective. So to me, I think that was a bigger mistake than they put on because, honestly, they traded him for like a low asset, and quite frankly, I know Oakland needed a receiver after the whole Antonio Brown thing happened, but that was sort of like a supplementary trade. They didn't have to do that. So, but I'm going to go ahead and take Buffalo in this one. I think is a perfect candidate for a bounce back game for them here. All right, Nick, we got another 12 o'clock window game. It's the Denver Broncos against the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings are hosting the Broncos. Broncos coming off the bye, I believe, so they're 3-6.
Yep.
And Minnesota's 7-3 right now. What do you think?
I like Minnesota in this. Minnesota is undefeated at home. They're 4-0 at home against this year. I like to see more Stephon Diggs this week. And I know he's probably going to be guarded by Chris Harris Jr., which is their best defensive back right now. But I just don't like Denver's kind of still a mess. I think they won the week before they went on their bye.
Yeah.
Against
the Browns.
Against the Browns, right. But I really do like Minnesota. I think they're going to run the ball a lot. I think Dalvin Cook is going to be successful. Since you're only really dealing with one monster in the front seven, which is really Von Miller, no Bradley Chubb, I think Minnesota will be a little successful. So if you can stop Von Miller from hitting Kirk Cousins and the offensive line from making some running lanes, I think they'll be successful. I like Minnesota minus the points.
Minnesota's 10-point favorite right now. I'll be honest with you. If I'm not a betting man, but I would take this. I would take the 10 points. I would take Broncos to see if they can get to 10 points. Because here's my thing with Minnesota. They're so up and down. Right, we know that when their ups are up, they're really up, and when their downs are down, they're really down.
True.
They have no Adam Thielen, no Linval Joseph, no Anthony Harris, one of their starting safeties, and then no Josh Klein. So defensive line is banged up, offensive line is banged up, and no your best receiver is out. To me, right now, Denver is with no Joe Flacco, by the way.
Right.
So you're going to see a new brand of Denver, right? It's not going to be the same dink and dunk, I don't think. I think it's going to be a lot of running the ball. I think it's going to be a lot of short passes. But I also think they're going to try and take a little bit more chance. I think it's Brandon Allen is going to be the starter for our Denver Broncos going in there.
Could have been Cap, but
yeah, it could have been Cap, but
I'm going to be
guess
saying
not.
that this whole
yeah,
broadcast.
It's gonna be, every single time we bring up a team,
backup quarterback. It
could have been Cap. Could have been Cap, but I guess not. And we'll see. And by the way, we'll see what happens with that Cap workout thing. Hopefully by next week, we're talking about him starting with the team and hopefully backing up on a team as he deserves to be on. Yeah, so like I said, if we're going with the points, I would take the Broncos. Honestly, though, I think the Broncos might be a candidate this week, Nick. I know that they're, this might be a letdown game, maybe a little bit because Minnesota. And I'm not sure. Yeah, so Minnesota's playing the Seahawks the next week, and then they got the Lions, Chargers, Packers, and Bears to finish out the season. So the Vikings right now they've got an interesting sort of path here because if they lose this game, they only dropped to 7-4. They're not in a terrible position, but the Packers are 8-2. You got the Bears bringing up the rear. The Bears are hoping that they can win this week against the Rams and take themselves to an even record. I would still say again, Minnesota probably has enough to do it, but I would watch out for the Broncos this week. That's all I'll say. Nick, let's talk about your Bucks. They're going to be. They're hosting the Narland Saints, who had a game to forget last week against the Atlanta Falcons, who we pick on ad nauseum, and they just picked apart New Orleans, and they made Drew Brees look really bad, and they made the defense of the New Orleans Saints look really bad, which we've talked about over the last couple of weeks. That Saints defense has been the most sort of impressive part about their run because even with Teddy Bridgewater, that defense just continued to sort of stop really good teams. And your Bucks right now, though, again, 3-6 right now, definitely would like to be better, but certainly I think they've, certainly with that win against the Cardinals, that was a pretty nice win. And it's tough to win in this league, Nick. Like, we both know it after our teams have had the last couple of years, the type of records they've had. It's tough to win this league, so every win is very important. So yeah, what are you thinking right now? What's the keys for your Bucks? We finally saw our RJ Ronald Jones. He looked amazing. What's your key for this game?
So here's the thing about Ronald Jones. Ronald Jones went through a few growing pains. Yes, he looked good. Yams.
Nice.
Yes, he looked good in the first quarter, but you notice towards the end of the game they went to Peyton Barber because Ronald Jones fumbled the ball on his own on a screen pass. I mean, he went to switch arms. He went to switch arms, and then it just fell out of his hand.
Sure.
So I think that was some of the growing pains.
Bruce Arians doesn't fuck around.
He does not. Well, speaking of the devil, Vernon Hargreaves got cut.
Yeah, all right, I saw that.
This is how funny that was. Vernon Hargreaves got benched, and to be honest with you, I didn't even know he got benched. Vernon Hargreaves got benched after one of their wide receivers made some 50-something yard play.
Wow.
Then
Christian Kirk,
right? No. It wasn't him. It was
Keyshawn.
Whatever these.
Andy
guy.
Isabella.
There you go, Isabella.
Yeah.
So Isabella makes the 59-yard catch. He benched him, but Vernon Hargreaves ended up making a play towards the end by knocking the ball out of Christian Kirk's hands, and then the next thing you knew, he got cut.
Wow.
That's how I knew Bruce Arians is not messing around.
No, he don't. Yeah.
Then you went ahead and you benched Ronald Jones, but that's a growing pain because you like Ronald Jones and you notice the potential in Ronald Jones. I'm fine for that. But the guy that needs to be talked about for one of the wins last week for Tampa Bay was the guy that got picked on so bad in Seattle that all he did was have an awesome game, and that's Jamel Dean. Jamel Dean actually ranked as the best defensive back in football last week by Pro Football Focus.
Wow.
With a 95%. It was like 95.2. He had 5 pass defense, and he had that interception towards the end where the receiver fell, and he ends up staying with the ball and gets the interception. So I think if you're going to have Jamel Dean, who's like 6'1", and then you're going to have Carlton Davis III, if he's healthy, at 6'3", and then you have Jordan Whitehead. So now the secondary, the same secondary that's been struggling for so bad, maybe Bruce Arians ain't so dumb when he kept saying, don't worry, the secondary's fixed.
Yeah.
Especially when now you didn't let go of some dead weight because, God forbid, Vernon Hargraves stops getting flipping.
He was a first-round pick, wasn't he?
He was this is how bad Jason Light. Everyone wants to say fire Jason Light, but it's not only just Jason Light, but they got rid of the dead weight too. That's Dirk Cutter. The only guy that's still left on that 2016 draft is Ryan Smith, who, oh, by the way, got burnt by Christian Kirk on that touchdown pass in the third quarter.
Yeah, that was a
so I'm
crazy
surprised.
game
So
for
he
Kirk.
should be looking over his shoulder by saying, you know what? Maybe I need to step my game up, or I'm gonna be the 2016 draft won't even exist.
Right? Yeah.
So that's some of the keys right there. Plus, Jameis had an up and down game, but he did lead the drive that got the Bucks the win.
And that was a good drive too. He made a couple good passes. Yeah.
Made a couple good passes. He, they got a couple of pass interference calls. So yes. Damn. So yes, Tampa Bay got the win. That's all that's important.
Yep.
Going into the game against the Saints, no Marshawn Lattimore for the Saints. The same Marshawn Lattimore that shut down Mike Evans in the game in about week 5, I think it was, in New Orleans. So that's a huge loss for New Orleans. So because the game is at home, they have no Marshawn Lattimore, and your boy looked like straight doo-doo. Drew Brees,
yeah, he looked bad.
And I have a feeling that JPP and I have a feeling that Vita Vea, who got so much love on Good Morning Football, but when I forget what his name is, called him the best athlete pound for pound in the NFL. So that's to all the Bucks fans who were crying a storm when we didn't get the great Derwin James.
Yeah.
I like Tampa in this game.
Yeah, see, I'm gonna have to be the one to take New Orleans here. I think my big thing with New Orleans is that this is such a crucial game for them. If they lose this game and Carolina wins, they play Carolina next week and could possibly drop down. So I think they're gonna take this game very seriously. I think New Orleans, though. The one thing that the big disadvantage though is that they're not going to be in a dome and they're going to be out in the open with being in Tampa Bay. I still see right now the secondary being an issue, right? You know what? I follow the Cardinals pretty closely because I have a lot of their players on my fantasy teams,
right?
And watching the game last week, I'll be honest, Christian Kirk didn't have one touchdown the whole season. He had 3 against the Buccaneers, 2 of them being ginormous long runs and catches. I think this is exactly what New Orleans is looking for. They're looking to bring in. They want to start to get the Ted Ginns and the Traquan Smiths and these types of guys involved because, quite frankly, I'm starting to think they have a wide receiver problem. Michael Thomas is one of the best receivers in the league, no doubt about it. But then who else is going to help Michael Thomas?
It's a huge drop off.
I mean, to Traquan Smith and Ted Ginn, to be honest, Ted Ginn to me is a gadget player at best at this point.
Yep.
He's a guy that you can run an occasional reverse with, maybe trick the defense out with a clever misdirection. But otherwise, he's not a guy I want out there running routes.
Nope.
Traquan Smith has proven time and time again, every single time Traquan Smith comes out, you hear, oh, this guy's going to be the next big thing, and he's going to be the true number 2 receiver. I mean, they're still looking for their number 2 receiver right now. They're hoping that Jared Cook is going to be that. So I think New Orleans is going to try and spread it around this week. I'll go ahead and I'll have to run with New Orleans in this one. By the way, I don't know if I said it, but yeah, 5.5 point favorites are New Orleans. So
you got some love on the page. Steve Grogan says, much love, Mac. Been a while, but you're one of the only people who understands sports truly.
Steve, Steve's my guy. He used to work up in Detroit when I did my photography gigs with the White Sox. He worked with the Tigers. I went and worked with him a couple times, and he actually came down for Sox Fest. He's one of the first guys I met. So, Steve, thanks for watching, man. I appreciate it, big boy. I hope to see you soon. But we'll jump right into to the next 12 o'clock game, Nick. It's going to be the New York Jets, 2-7. It's been a rough couple of weeks for the Jets here, even with some wins in the last couple of weeks. But 2-7 Jets against the 1-8 Washington Redskins. I don't know if you want to spend too much time on this. By the way, let's just give for the gamblers 2.5-point favorites are the Redskins. That just goes to show how terrible the Jets have been this week.
Swear. And they got a huge win against. I wouldn't say huge. They got a win.
Yeah,
against the New York Giants in the MetLife Bowl last week. So the Redskins are still a mess.
Yep.
Trent Williams said that he'll never play for the Redskins again.
Don't blame him.
So that's a mess.
Dwayne Haskins is going to be the quarterback for the rest of the season now, so no more Case Keenum. They're hoping to give him a little bit of run for the rest of the season. Maybe see if he can get some chemistry with the receivers. I don't understand it quite. I get it. The season's over, so now. But then why bring him in 4 weeks ago and throw him to the Wolves?
Thank you.
It's stupid. The Redskins are stupid. It seems like they're stuck on stupid. We thought it was Jay Gruden, right? Oh, Jay Gruden's gone. They're going to be back to normal. They just seem to be stuck on stupid right now.
That puts Snyder on the same boat as what's his name?
Yep, James
Jerry Jones.
Jerry Jones, yeah, sorry.
You know what I'm saying? Like this guy is making the moves. Like this is the guy that's signing the checks. He's making the moves, but they're not right moves.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like I said a couple weeks ago, I don't understand how all this talent that you drafted and you signed and these guys are just giving up points left and right.
Yeah.
It doesn't really make sense to me. It's confusing.
This is what happens when you mix ego with money.
Yes.
When you have too much money on your hands and you could literally just run a whole NFL franchise into the ground because your ego is that big and you don't want to relinquish it.
Exactly. So, God, I'm going to go with the Redskins on this one at home.
Yeah, I'm thinking the Redskins too. I'll be honest with you. At home, I think Dwayne Haskins is a perfect game for him to get his so let's remember Terry McLaurin is actually their best receiver. He's a guy that went to Ohio State with Dwayne Haskins. I think they're going to finally form that bond this week because Terry McLaurin has been amazing with Case Keenum in the game, but terrible with Haskins in the game. You would think it'd be the opposite. So hopefully they gain a little bit of chemistry this week.
And it's going to take some time.
It will, for sure. It'll take the rest of the season, but also, I think this is a testament of how bad the Jets are right now and how much neither of us really believe in Adam Gase. I don't think, let's not forget, Nick, the Jets went through a draft class with a GM and then fired him a month later.
Yep.
And we're stuck with that draft class. Oh, and by the way, the whole Le'Veon Bell signing, their number one signing, apparently nobody wanted that to happen in that organization.
Nope.
Like nobody wanted that to happen. So right now the Jets are just in a mess of a situation. I don't see them jumping
and
out
they're
of that.
They're saying that Adam Gase will be back next year's coach. They have absolutely no intentions of trying to fire him.
Speaking of having naked pictures of somebody, he's got to have some naked pictures of the Johnson family. But I'm not. And also, by the way, the whole Jamal Adams thing was embarrassing too. I know Jamal Adams. I'm a little bit embarrassed by Jamal Adams and how he's handled it in a way, but also because he could have handled it in a way that made the Jets look like the clowns that they are, but he didn't because he let his ego get in the way of things as well. But yeah, the Jets are a mess right now. I don't expect many things from them.
See, this is what pisses me off.
The whole I was literally just about to say, but I don't want to change subjects.
Dude.
Yeah, and that's it. So what if you guys were, obviously you guys didn't see, but we were just watching Julius Randle drive to the basket, a guy trying to take a charge, and Julius Randle just basically flailing into the guy and hoping for a call.
Like that's never been called offensive foul before.
Yeah.
You had R.J. Bitter sitting right there, wide open for three, and you want to go crash into Marvin Williams. Idiot.
I think he thinks he's the man, though, right? I think that's the thing about Randle is I think he thinks, oh, shit, I mean, I'm the most tenured guy here, and nobody else is.
And on top of that, I'm the one that got
I'm the one with the contract. Yeah, you guys are all 1 years. You guys all got 1 years. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, so I think he thinks he's a man a little bit, but he might have to be humbled a little bit from the league. Which this is what happens. That's what I love about basketball too. Basketball, in ways, football is like this, but basketball will humble you.
Oh.
You can come in and be the best player in college and the best player on your team, and there's cases where guys have been the best player on their team every single time they've played basketball from when they were in JV to college. Then they come in the league and they're just players. And Randall, I think, is one of those guys. He's a guy who was just so good. And you remember there was a lot of hoopla about him coming out of college, and a lot of people saw him as a possible sort of a guy come out of college. And I wouldn't even say he's undersized. I just think his game is just not right now. But he's got some time to figure it out.
Right.
Sorry guys, a little detour there, but yeah, we're back on the 12 o'clock window game. We got the Carolina Panthers, who are 5-4. We talked about them. They're in the thick of things right now in the NFC South, and hoping to win this game and get into a game next week with the Saints. In possibly, if the Buccaneers can help them out, possibly in contention for first place. They're hosting the 2-7 Falcons, who surprised the world with that game against the Saints. Man, I'll be honest with you. Dan Quinn, I don't know how he still has a job right now. I'll be honest with you.
Probably because I don't think that. Ooh, that was a nice shot.
Nice little shot by little guy.
Yeah. That's because I don't think they want to fire Dan Quinn in the
middle of the season, which is understandable.
Football's one of those sports where your team really has to blow.
It's like 1-7, but the thing
I mean, what the Saints were at that point, but maybe they're giving Dan Quinn a little bit more respect.
True, yeah.
Than the
he
Redskins
did take him to a
Jake
Super Bowl
Gruden.
2 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess that's fair. By the way, guys, if you're gambling, 4-point favorites are the Panthers. The Panthers need to figure it out because, again, they've played some good football since Kyle Allen has swooped in, but they've also been inconsistent too, and losing games against teams that maybe they shouldn't lose. But again, impressive that they've been able to keep their head above water with no Cam Newton. But that game against the Packers last week was ugly. The Packers made them look really bad, and it wasn't even close for most of the game. And the Packers weren't even playing their best ball either, which is pretty crazy. But I think Vegas recognizes how big of a dark horse Atlanta is right now, and that's why they're only giving the Panthers 4 points at home. We'll see what happens, but I think right now this is a Panthers game to lose.
Yeah, I think so too. I like Carolina in this, and I'm pretty sure that they'll be scoreboard watching between the Saints and the Bucks, and we'll be rooting for the Bucks. So, like you said, that they can play for. Possibly first place in the South. But I think that game last week was I think it was more Green Bay bouncing back from being embarrassed against LA the week before than it was Carolina really looking bad. I think Carolina just caught them at the wrong time. Mm-hmm. But let me tell you this. You know what Carolina is wondering? Why the Bucks were so quick to get rid of Gerald McCoy, because Aaron Jones was running up the middle at will that entire game last week. Yeah. And now you understand what the Bucks' frustrations were with Gerald McCoy. Not saying he ain't a good defensive tackle. I'm just saying after the second quarter, the man is useless.
Yeah, and he's never really been a guy that's going to defend the run really well. And when he loses his sort of stamina too throughout the game, you could tell in his body language, it's like, I'm not doing this. I don't want to defend the run.
Exactly.
Right now. By the way, Nick, there was a little bit of breaking news that came out, and it was about the Astros story. And apparently they just broke that one Astros exec has asked scouts to steal signs in email. Scout, it just goes to the story for 2017. We were asked to electronically cheat in the playoffs. This is apparently one of the scouts for the Houston Astros at that time in 2017. So shit's hitting the fan right now. So we'll certainly have something to talk about next week.
That's what I'm saying, dude. I would not be shocked if the closest thing to a death penalty is AJ Hinch getting a full year.
Yep.
At this point, and if you're going to tell me, because, again, you can't really get Beltran because Beltran wasn't on the bench. He was a player at the time, so you can't get him for that. So the Mets, I think, will dodge the bullet there. But Alex Cora was a bench coach. So I don't think the Red Sox are going to miss that bullet. So what if, and I think that Major League Baseball is going to see how much involvement Alex Cora was. But what if AJ Hinch gets the full season? What if Alex got half? I keep saying 50 to 75, but what if whatever the commissioner's name is now,
Rob Manfred.
Ron Manfred's like, hell no, y'all ain't finna make me look stupid. So watch this.
Yeah.
Here's a year for you. You can sit out half the year.
Yeah.
If you're a Yankees fan, you're like, oh, hell right.
Yeah.
Now you don't have your general anymore. Another East title coming our way.
Yeah, honestly,
God dang right.
I wouldn't be surprised to see like all of their front office staff either take a hit, somehow get suspended. You know, this has to be deeper than just the face, right? You're asking scouts, you're asking these players within the organization that aren't necessarily in the scope of things to do things to cheat for you. To me, we have to start to see a overarching punishment here. Hopefully, we see it soon.
Yes, I totally agree.
I would like to see it by next week so we could talk about it, to be honest, because I don't want to see this linger into the free agency thing. Because to me, right now, I think.
I know what I wanted to say.
Yes.
Check this out. Do you think that Garrett Cole knew something was wrong? Let me tell you why. Because that brother wasted no time to say, hey,
I'm not coming back. That's true. That's true. And by the way, and I mentioned this last week, Houston tried to float stuff out there like, maybe we'll be a part of the Garrett Cole stuff. And right away, his representation was like, I don't think we're going to be in the same bracket right now.
We're done.
So you might be right, honestly. And, Garrett, they were playing, I told you this during the show at one point, they were playing the game in the locker room during the playoffs where it's like, where do you think Garrett Cole's going to go during the offseason? Where do you think Garrett Cole? So everyone knew that he was not coming back. Yeah. He probably separated himself very quickly.
He said, look, thank you guys for writing me. I know I really wasn't topping 99 when I was in Pittsburgh.
You guys showed me away.
Because I sure was only hitting about 94, 95.
Yep.
But I appreciate y'all. But I'm going to take my talents elsewhere. Thank you.
Get that 200
Because think about it, Charlie Morton was quick to dip out of that joint too. So
and to be fair though, Charlie Morton had a good season with Tampa, but it wasn't the same. It wasn't like he was overpowering. It was just like he was finally sort of coming together and his game was coming together. But yeah, I think it's Mike Fiers is a great example of that. When he went to Oakland, he had an okay sort of, string after the 2007. I think at one point he had I want to say he had a no-hitter at some point, but he wasn't the Mike Fiers that was, winning them games in the World Series at some point.
Right.
So, that's going to be really interesting. I think some heads are going to fall by this time next week.
Morant.
Yeah, he
I love
dominated
how everyone
yesterday.
was like, oh, John Morant's going to be ass, bro. He went to Murray State.
So funny.
No offense, but Florida State, which is one of the better defensive teams in college basketball, he still damn near dropped, even though they did get blown out by Florida State in that round of 32.
True.
He was
the only reason why they were even close. Yeah.
In it. Yep.
Yeah. And Ja's going to be good, man. The one thing about Ja, though, I think that people are wondering about is can he shoot? And he proved yesterday that he's willing to shoot.
Yep.
Here's the thing about Ja. He doesn't have the best form.
No.
And we've seen players do it with not the best form before.
Shawn Marion.
But Shawn Marion, I think the one problem with him is that he's stationary when he shoots.
Yeah.
Meaning it's not really a full jump shot.
Right.
A lot of what he's doing is just kind of a hop. And I think they're going to say that eventually that was the play I was just about to mention, where he's going to have plays where he kind of boots the ball out of bounds, but he's going to have some plays where we're watching one where he's at the 3-point line, basically drives in and, as a free throw line, he basically puts it behind his back and in one motion swoops it in. What a game for Ja Morant. There's going to be a lot of...
There's your MVP of the league right
There's
now.
the MVP as, LeBron caught a body as Bjelica of the Kings just decided he was going to take...
That is your MVP.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you what, you can say all you want about LeBron James. That brother is rejuvenated. I mentioned it last week. He now has guys who he can trust, and he does not have to be the leader. I firmly believe that LeBron James is at a point in his career where he is saying, look, I've done all the teaching that I'm going to.
Right.
I did that the first 7 years.
Yeah.
Or what was it, like 5 years when I was in Cleveland. The minute he went to Miami, he was like, I am not doing this mess
done
anymore.
teaching people.
I'm done
Yeah,
teaching. That's
yeah.
why Andrew Wiggins was quick to dip
Yep.
and bring in Kevin Love, because you ain't got to teach him.
And let's be honest, Andrew Wiggins just finally having the type of season they're hoping just this year. So imagine if they would have kept him, Cleveland.
And think about it like this. See, the NBA is so funny because you're going to get, for every LeBron James that's going to come out of high school or the one-year college program as they're doing now, Andrew Wiggins reminds me so much of Jermaine O'Neal. Remember when Jermaine O'Neal first came out and he was in Portland? They were like, oh, yeah, man, Jermaine O'Neal's going to be really good power forward. But he didn't get it because he was still young. He still needed time. Yeah. But being able to jump from high school to the pros and you're still kind of like a top 10
you need
player.
An adjustment,
Right. When he went to Indiana, it was over. At that point, he became a superstar. He got the 4 years that would have technically been college to kind of sit and learn the game and whatnot. And he became a superstar.
I remember that Indiana team was damn good with him too.
Good.
Yeah, really good.
They were so good. So it takes some time, and that's probably with Andrew Wiggins. He comes out of Kansas. He doesn't even play a game in Cleveland. But now you finally got some coaching staff that's willing to teach this kid, and now he's starting to learn his potential because all the focus is going to be on your boy Cat.
Yeah.
And now someone had to tell Andrew, like, look, man, Karl Anthony Towns is going to take all the he's going to get his shots. Don't worry about him. But when he's double teamed, I need you to step up. And he's answered the call.
Yeah, finally. And let's be honest, it's been 4 years now, right?
It's been about 4 years now.
So yeah, if he, if he didn't, he didn't necessarily. Here's the thing: when he was at Kansas, there was a lot of hype. A lot of hype about Wiggins. And then what ended up happening is he had an okay season, but still it was such a weak class that everyone was like, Wiggins is by far still the number one player. And now you're starting to finally see the potential that everyone saw in him. So not surprising in the least, but also Minnesota's a pretty surprising team. They are. Cat has looked good. They've beat some teams already that they have no business of beating. And quite frankly, the whole scrum, I don't know if you saw it. I don't know if you even mentioned it on the podcast, but Karl Anthony Towns and Joel Embiid got into it.
Oh, I did see that.
Yeah, it was a fist fight that you don't necessarily see from either one of those guys. Both were a little bit fed up, and
one of them told, I don't know who it was, but somebody got an elbow.
Yeah. So what ended up happening is Cat was raising the elbow, apparently raising the elbow, and Embiid approached him and said, "Don't."
He said, "Watch your
elbows," and then Cat just went after it. It just happened. So, but to me, man, that's a show of like, all right, I'm here, I'm ready, let's do this. I want to see that out of Cat. I think that's what, honestly, that's what Thibodeau and Butler were trying to get out of Cat and Wiggins. They were trying to get like, dude, I want you to care. Like that's the thing that people don't understand about Jimmy Butler. He doesn't have the most orthodox way of doing things, right? But what he expects is 100% effort. He wants you to give a shit. He wants you to care. And I think what he saw was in Minnesota, both of these guys, by the way, Cat never really worried about money, but he knew he was going to get extended right away.
Exactly.
Wiggins already got the big extension.
Right.
And when he got to Minnesota, he saw that everyone was lollygagging around. And that's why he took the third stringers and said, listen, I'm going to beat you with the third stringers because they care more.
Right.
You can see how much they care more. And you're seeing it in Miami right now where Kendrick Nunn, who's this guy who, really wasn't really highly touted, he came in and kicked ass during training camp, kicked ass in the preseason, and now Spoelstra and Butler to a certain extent are rewarding him. And Miami looks good, by the way. I like the way that Miami's looking. They're not gonna play defense very, very well. They need a little bit more of an inside presence for defense, but otherwise, if they can handle that, they look pretty good with Butler and Dragic and Tyler Hero, and also we didn't talk about it on the show either, but I don't know if you saw this whole thing about waiters, him taking edibles.
Yeah, and then they had to call the ambulance or whatever.
So
I did see that.
He said he had a panic attack, and in reality, he really just took weed gummies.
For what it's worth, I'm not saying that I had a panic attack, but
those
I
weed
had
gummies will get you.
It wasn't even the gummies.
Oh, okay.
So the story is, I was talking to this girl that lived in Colorado, and then I went out to go see her.
Okay.
And then so we went to a weed shop. And I had bought so in Colorado, if you have a Colorado ID, you can buy all the weed you want.
Right.
If you're an out-of-stater, you can only buy so much weed, or you can buy so many edibles. So the girl was like, okay, I'll buy XY amount of weed. And then I was like, okay, I'll buy this one of them white chocolate bars with THC.
Yeah.
So then the night before I went home, she went home a little earlier, the day earlier, because she had school the next day and it was snowing like hell.
Oh, okay.
So I was like, okay, you probably shouldn't stay here. Go ahead and go home. And then I'll just head to the airport because they had a shuttle. I was like, okay, so what am I supposed to do with this THC bar?
Oh, my God.
She said, well, you can't necessarily take it on the plane, but I wouldn't recommend eating all of it either.
Yeah, you're right, yeah.
So I'm like, well, these are horrible choices.
Yeah, I know, exactly. What am I going to do then?
So I was like, well, I guess YOLO.
Yeah.
And I ate the whole thing.
Oh, dude, you don't.
Bro. So tell me why. Okay, I don't know if you've ever been in DIA before. Denver International.
Yeah.
The home of the Illuminati.
I was gonna say they promote it. They don't mind telling you. Oh yeah, we got the Illuminati right back here. Don't worry. We got the lizard people
don't
down
worry
there.
They're all down there.
They're all down there.
Right.
Yeah, we don't care.
Which. And I know we've gone off the football topic, and I like it.
We'll get back there.
Yeah, we'll get back there on trip.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something about that. If you've never been to Denver International Airport, this bitch is in the middle of nowhere.
Oh, it is, yeah, and it's creepy.
Dude, it's okay. If you flying into Denver, ladies and gentlemen, I just put on the sign. We are approximately 20 minutes away from Denver right now, so we're gonna go in. And you're sitting in a window seat. You're looking. Bro, it's nothing but farm.
It's nothing. Yeah, it's nothing.
You go to O'Hare Midway.
And the worst part, dude, the Uber out of the airport, if you're not like near the airport, is a big.
Yes.
Like, to get to Denver is like legitimately 25, 30 miles. Yeah,
yes.
it's not easy.
It's ridiculous. So if you've ever been DIA, it's a lot different from O'Hare because at DIA you can actually go in and eat.
Yeah.
But you can't go past to get to the planes.
They like O'Hare, you have to get in the terminal to do all that.
Yes.
At Denver, you can just eat and do all your things, and then you can go and check in after that.
They're not as strict as Chicago is. So I was like, well, damn, my flight doesn't leave till like super late. Well, I guess I'll go ahead and I ate the bar, and I'm like, I'm going to go get something to eat.
Oh, man.
I tweet so hard because in DIA, when you go upstairs, the floor is glass, so you can see through it.
Yeah.
And I thought there were like ants and mice running around. I'm like, dude, what the dude, I'm high as a kite right now. I went and passed out in like the terminal seats.
Yeah.
And then I wake up, I'm like, bro, what time is it? And I look, it's like 7 o'clock. I'm like, damn, my flight leaves for another 2 hours.
Oh,
so
that's the worst too.
Yeah, so I went, checked in, and then I was just watching wrestling until my flight left. So yeah, so I can understand a little bit of maybe what's his name went
You get
through.
a little too crazy. You have a couple extra bites too
But
many.
I did not have a panic attack to where I needed to flip it.
That's the thing though. It's like you can have if I have 5 beers, that's when I start to get a little bit crazy.
Yeah.
When I have 6, when I have 3 shots, that's when I have to sort of. But when it comes to like weed and specifically edibles, there's really no way of telling, honestly.
No.
And a lot of times, the edibles, the way it works too is like if you don't make them correctly, this side of the bar could have 90% of the damn THC. So I could bite this and not be high at all, and I can take a bite of here and see the devil. It's crazy.
Let me give you another story before we go back
Yes, sir.
to football.
Yes,
so this is what happened. So when I was working at Adobe, we had this one shift. We were getting rocked. Okay. And the one kid, he was like, Nick, I know you've had a long day. You've been here since 9. It's 11:30. And he was like, this is for you. He's like, be careful when you take it, but this will give you a jump the next day. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm driving home, and then I wake up the next day. I'm going to work. All right, so I got home like 12:30. I said to be to work the next day by 9.
Oh,
Dude,
my
I'm
goodness.
tired as balls, right? So midway going to work, I was like, oh, yeah, what's his name gave me that gummy? Ate it. Nothing. I was like, this thing sucks balls. Why you give me this bull? Bro, It did not take me 30 minutes. I was in that back office getting stuff ready. It hit me so bad. I was like, I'm leaning over the counter like this. And I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? So this one guy, one of the guys that was my employee, he was running late. So the guy comes to me, he's like, hey, Fernando's on the phone. And I was like, what's up, man? Like yelling on the phone. I was like, what's up, man? He's like, hey, Nick, man, I'm sorry I overslept. I was like, hey, man, don't even worry about it, bro. Just come in. Yelling at this man over the phone.
Not
like,
a care in the world. Yeah.
I wasn't mad. I was just loud.
Yeah.
And then I talked to the guy. I was like, hey, did it seem like I was yelling on the phone? He's like, he started laughing. He's like, yeah. I was like, bro, dude, I was like, I don't know what's going on. Like, I was tweaking. I'm like, what happened? And then it wasn't until I started calming down towards the afternoon, I was like, shit, it was that dumbass. That bitch hit me hard.
You forget about it, too.
Damn. Oh, man, what happened?
It also depends on how much you ate that day, too, because if you ate on an empty stomach, that's all your system's working on. You're about to get fucked up.
And a couple of the girls were like, they're like, Nick, you were acting kind of weird. So at first, I didn't tell them the story.
Yeah.
And then eventually, I admitted to what happened. And everybody was laughing at me.
That makes sense.
Yeah, dude, it was crazy. So I can't say I've never been in his shoes.
Yeah, I'm not going to clown Deion Waiters because that's happened to me a couple times, too.
Exactly.
So I can't clown you, Deion.
And I'm not really the one to really smoke weed or take THC and stuff like that. But when curiosity kills the cat,
there you go. Sometimes you gotta. Sure, why not? You can't talk about it if you've never done it before.
Exactly.
So, shit, why not? All right, guys. Yeah, sorry, we took a little detour there, but we jumped back on the highway and we're back onto football.
Steve's got back there laughing.
He's like, what the fuck are they talking about?
I didn't know.
Sorry, Steve. Sorry, man. Hey, guys, let's get back into football. The Ravens are going to be hosting the Texans. This is a pretty interesting,
great game.
It's a really great game, and I think it might be the game of the week just so far, I guess. But yeah, 7-2 are the Baltimore Ravens. 6-3 are the Houston Texans. Big game, and we're going to see these two quarterbacks duke it out in the AFC for a long time, too. And by the way, for the gamblers, 4.5-point favorites are the Ravens. Will Fuller's out. Bradley Roby's out. Michael Pierce, big cog in the Ravens defense, is doubtful for this game. Who do you got, Nick?
So this is interesting because both defenses are struggling. Like this Baltimore defense isn't the same defense that it used to be. Houston's defense, obviously, trading Clowney, losing J.J. Watt. So they're missing some guys. It's going to be interesting. I like Baltimore in this game because I think Lamar's going to have a big game.
Yep.
I think Deshaun's going to have a big game too, but I think Lamar's going to have a big game. And the thing about Lamar Jackson, and I mentioned this, I think I may have mentioned this last week, and I know I mentioned it on Arch Rivals, but one of the things, again, that I can't stand is everybody trying to make some of these running quarterbacks seem like if they don't become pocket passers, then, they're going to get smacked one time and they're not going to have a career. Dude, like Lamar Jackson looks fine. For the great and amazing New England Patriots defense could do no wrong. Mm-hmm. The human joystick that was Lamar Jackson made him look like clowns.
He did, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I think Lamar Jackson each week that he starts playing, you can tell that he's starting to get comfortable. Mm-hmm. And Ozzie or whoever their offensive coordinator is, I almost said Ozzie Newsome. I don't know if that's right or not.
Oh no, it's
why I can't think of his name. It's going to drive me nuts. Has made a game plan for Lamar Jackson and how, to kind of work with his skill set. And, they're not coming with pocket passer plays for a guy that could run out of the pocket. And they're not coming up with
Greg Roman.
Greg Roman. There you go. Thank you. Ozzie Newsome is the former GM. Greg Roman. I think he's done a really good job with this with Lamar Jackson. He feels comfortable, and the run game's working. And Mark Ingram's really playing well, who I in the beginning of the year didn't think he would fit in, but he's fitting in real well. So I think Houston's going to have their hands full. The thing with Houston's offense is who's going, like we talked about with New Orleans, who's going to be the next man up for DeAndre Hopkins?
No Will Fuller.
You know what I'm saying? You have no Will Fuller, who usually is that guy, and he comes through, but he can't stay healthy either.
Yeah.
So It's going to be interesting. Yams. It's going to be an interesting game, but I like Baltimore at home against Houston, but I think this is going to be a really good game.
Yeah, me too. I think it's going to be a shootout. I think
could happen.
It might be like a 35 to 32 game, something like that.
So it's going to be which defense is going to make that field goal drive or that big play.
And I'll be honest with you. I think Baltimore should have more confidence in their defense coming in because, let's remember they brought in Marcus Peters. He's had a couple of pick sixes so far for them, which is pretty crazy, but they're not exactly there yet. Baltimore is. They're still figuring things out on defense. They miss C.J. Mosley. They miss a couple of guys that they lost over the offseason. Zadarius Smith.
Yep.
We talked about him.
Terrell
Suggs. Them letting both of those guys walk. All three of them essentially letting them walk, and now they're starting to pay for it. But I think Lamar's finally coming into his own. I think we saw him early in the season beat up on some bad teams and thought, oh, he's here, and then he had some struggles. Now you're starting to see him even out a bit, understanding that he's going to have to, they're going to have to run the ball a lot. We get it, right? They're going to have to run the ball a lot. He's going to have to, there's going to be called plays where it's supposed to be a pass, and he's going to run it because he's going to, that's how good of an athlete he is.
Right.
But we saw it against the Patriots. I mean, the way he makes defenders look is embarrassing for the defenders, and he can do that on every play if he wants to. So yeah, I've got Baltimore in this one, and we'll see. I think it might be a shootout here. Another pretty interesting game. It seems like these two just played 2 weeks ago, and I think they did play 2 weeks ago. But the Arizona Cardinals are going to be going to San Francisco to face the 49ers, who just took their first loss of the season. They didn't play the best that game, but the Seahawks, to me, Russell Wilson's the MVP right now, I think, of the league, and I think they got caught in the wind with no George Kittle, by the way, in that game, and George Kittle is doubtful for this game.
And Emmanuel Sanders got hurt.
Yeah, Emmanuel Sanders had a rib injury. It looks like Sanders might be more likely to play in this game than Kittle is. I think Kittle's doubtful, and Sanders is questionable. San Francisco, through all of this, is still 10-point favorites. Arizona's coming off of that loss last week against your Bucks. So yeah, I mean, I think this one's I don't want to say that it's going to be as close as it was a couple weeks ago, because remember, that game a couple weeks ago was pretty damn close. I think it'll be a close game, but I think the 49ers take this one. I think they'll run the ball a lot more than they did last week. I was surprised they didn't run the ball that much last week. They're
not going to, because the Bucs have the best run defense in the NFL.
Yeah, true. That's true.
So they tried, but it was not working. And then, like, my one buddy...
Oh no, I was talking about San Francisco. I'm sorry. I was talking about San Francisco. But yeah, you're right about Arizona, because Arizona just decided we're going to throw it 50 times. We don't mind. Yeah, because Tampa Bay's run defense is that good.
Yep. And then so with Arizona, my one buddy that is a diehard Arizona Cardinals fan said that he's done with David Johnson. He thinks David Johnson is done.
Yeah, I've seen that a lot on Reddit this week too. Listen, the guy's injured in a way, but when he came out in the media this week, he actually said he's not injured, which is pretty worrying. He's just basically saying, I'm nervous to hit the hole, which you never want to hear your running back say.
Exactly. So, it's no telling of what's going on with him per se. But I'm going to take San Francisco at home.
Yeah.
I think Arizona is really taking strides. Kyler Murray's getting better.
Mm-hmm.
I know that, Christian Kirk had the big game last week, and they, for what it's worth, really did shut down, for the most part, Larry Fitzgerald. But Kyler Murray did look good in certain ways. At the same time, too, though, San Francisco, I know it's their first loss. They may be out of Kittle, and Emmanuel Sanders is questionable. But I think they got, like you said, they got to run the ball, take a little pressure off of Jimmy G. I know he threw 4 touchdowns against Arizona a few weeks ago. Let's not deem him the next Tom Brady quite yet.
Right, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I'll take San Francisco to win this game against Arizona.
And Matt Breida's out this week as well too, so they're going to have to do it with Raheem Mostert and Tevin Coleman,
who
missed practice earlier this week, but apparently for personal issues, so he's not hurt. So I think we're both take 49ers in that one. Dipping into the 325 window, we've got the Oakland Raiders hosting the 0-9 Bengals. The Bengals right now are not looking good. 11.5-point favorites are Oakland. Oakland looks like a playoff team. They look like a team that deserves to be in the playoffs right now. As much shit as John Gruden's gotten over the last couple of years, it's time to start to give this guy, and surprisingly, I don't want to do this, but Mike Mayock, the GM, this is a really well-assembled team.
Yep.
They're not the best team talent-wise, but they've compiled compiled these pieces that work well together. The offensive line does really well together, and Carr is just able to get the ball out to his receivers.
Right.
Waller is a central figure in this offense.
Right.
And I think they're probably going to contend for the rest of the season, but I think this is a win for Raiders fans no matter what happens for the rest of the season, in my opinion, because man, do the Raiders look like they belong in the NFL, and I think Gruden has them playing well. I think they run away with this one. I don't think a lot of people see this as a trap game for the Raiders possibly, although it could happen. I just don't see it.
Right. And then I love how everyone's pointing out how the Bears traded, the first round pick for Khalil Mack. Sure. And, you see in the comparisons with, Josh Jacobs and what he's done, and then the Bears' entire their run offense for what they've done. I have a kind of issue with that because there's no guarantee that the Bears would have even taken Josh Jacobs had they not gotten Khalil Mack.
Right.
At the same time, I can't be against the Bears trading a would-have pick for arguably the best defensive player in the league that was and probably still is to an extent Khalil Mack.
Yeah.
So let's stop doing that. However, it does make John Gruden kind of look like a genius because you parted ways with Amari Cooper, who was your best wide receiver. Yeah. Then you part ways with Khalil Mack, that was your best defensive player. And then you get hit with Salim Farrell, who technically may not have been the best player on the Clemson defensive line, but he's worked in your system.
And he fit really well in the system too.
And so I feel like right now what the Oakland Raiders have done is that they have guys who fit John Gruden's system, that understand the system, that work with the system, and they look good.
Yeah.
You can't deny that they don't look good. And I think not only is this game real important for Oakland, but it's going to put heat on Kansas City, who took a bad loss against Tennessee last week. And now, even with Jesus Mahomes in there, you take that bad loss last week, which was piss poor clock management on Andy Reid, and
really
their defense is still flipping bad. So,
now we know why they brought Mahomes back early, right?
Exactly, but it still didn't work.
It didn't work, yeah.
So I like Oakland in this game. There's really nothing to talk about Cincinnati. They're a bad football team right now. And I like Oakland to win this game.
Yeah, me too. I think it's pretty obvious the Raiders are on a roll right now. So again, a lot of people pointing towards a trap game. I don't see it.
I don't see it either.
We got a couple. We got a pretty decent game here in the Sunday night window. It's going to be a matchup of the Super Bowl a couple years back, Patriots and Eagles. To me right now, the Patriots, they looked human in that loss against the Ravens.
Right.
But, I see this, by the way, 4-point favorites are the Patriots on the road. I think Philadelphia in these types of situations seems to really crumble in a way. When they play the tough teams or when they have to play a prove-it game, they tend not to do well. That's why I had them losing against the Bears a couple weeks ago, but obviously we saw how that went. We'll see. But I honestly think this is the Patriots game to lose because I just think they have everything going right now for them, and this is usually around the time of the year where they start to figure out their identity. How are we going to start to win games in January and February eventually? So we'll see what the game plan is moving forward, because I think the focus. The one thing that came out of the Baltimore game to me was that they can't afford to get into shootouts with people. They really can't afford to let because remember, their defense had a historic start to the season.
Right.
When they came back down to earth, and let's see if they are back down to earth. If they come back down to earth, is this team the same type of team where if they have to get into this back and forth offensive game? I don't necessarily think Philadelphia is this big offensive powerhouse, but I think this might be a shootout in my opinion. I think this is one where honestly, the Eagles, they're going to come out with, I think, the urgency, meaning like they want to come out and score a touchdown on the opening drive if they can and start to really control the clock because, again, they're going to be at home, take advantage as much as they can. But yeah, I will go ahead and still take the Patriots in this one. But yeah, be careful with the points on this one because it might be a close game with Philly.
Yeah, I agree. I was thinking about this earlier. First off, who's at home?
It's the Eagles.
Eagles are at home?
Yes. And by the way, the Patriots don't lose back-to-back games.
They don't.
They never lose back-to-back games. That's one of the hallmarks of Belichick.
Like, I really want to take Philly, but now that you say that, I'm gonna take New England.
Yeah. No, I the reason why, because I was thinking probably the same thing you were thinking this week, which is that, this is like, it could go either way, but I just think, especially, and I think if I'm not mistaken, the Patriots, they're coming off a bye.
Right.
So extra time to prepare, and you just lost last week. I just think the Patriots are too much.
The point I want to make is actually when we get to the next game.
Yes, sir.
But
sir.
I'm gonna go with New England.
All right, cool. Well, let's just talk about the next game then. We'll talk about the Chargers, 4-6, hosting the surprisingly 6-4 Chiefs, who could, with a loss, drop back into second place, I think. So the Chiefs are 4-point favorites. Who you got? Or what you got?
I'm gonna take the Chiefs. Something tells me I want to take the Chargers because, like, I don't know, LA seems to be that team that, for whatever reason, wants to mess up somebody's season. But, dude, Kansas City's got to tighten some things up defensively, man. They really do. And don't try to make Phillip Rivers seem like, the second coming of Dan Fouts, please.
Right, yeah.
So I'm gonna take the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs will take this one. That was a box out clown. It's a clown ass car. Suck balls. I'm gonna take the Chiefs on this one. I think Jesus Mahomes has a big game.
Yeah.
And LA is so up and down.
Still don't have an identity.
Either they're gonna be the LA Chargers, the UK Chargers. We haven't figured that one out quite yet.
Apparently, there's no way they're moving to London. That's what their owner said. There's no logistically. It's impossible.
Yeah,
it's impossible to make that happen. Let's start with Canada. I think Canada is a good place to start. Let's start with Canada, maybe Mexico City, and then move on from there. But I think right now, moving a team across the pond to the UK, it's a little bit too much of a task. But yeah, no, I've got the Chiefs in this one too. I think right now it's time for the Chiefs to break out. Just rush the passer. Like, you know what, dude? Honestly, I've never been a defensive coordinator. I've, probably had pads on for a couple of years in my life. I know how to call better plays than some of the plays that they're calling. To me, really, the big thing with the Chiefs, they always find a way. To keep the other team in the game. And to me, all you really have to do is say, you know what? I'm not going to let this quarterback beat me. I'm not going to let this running back beat me. I'm going to put a ton of people in the box. I'm going to rush the passer. If you're going to kill me, you're going to kill me on my terms.
Right.
And I just feel like Kansas City is always in this shell of a defense of, we're not going to let you beat us deep, or you're not going to get and they always get 5 or 6 intermediate plays, and by the time you look around, that the team's in the red zone and they're ready to score.
Right.
And Kansas City, let's be honest, Mahomes can't do it by himself.
Nope.
With Kareem Hunt, and by the way, Kareem Hunt has looked amazing for the Browns so far this season. But with Kareem Hunt, they could afford to do that. But now, when you've got Damian Williams and Shady McCoy's a healthy scratch and some of these other sort of, middling players, you don't have the type of, talent that's top level. And quite frankly, the offensive line isn't that great anymore. Right. So Kansas City's got to have a sense of urgency here, but I sense that this would be the bounce back game that they need. I think it's a big win for them on Monday night. Right. I'll take the Chiefs.
I'll take the Chiefs as well.
All righty, sir. What else you got for me? I don't know about you, but I'm starving.
Let's go to the next game. Is one. I thought you said that Patriots Eagles
Did I miss
game was
one?
Sunday night.
Yeah, it was Sunday night. You know what? I'm sorry. No, you know what? I'm sorry. I'm sorry, because I got my favorites as the Bears.
There we go.
I got my favorites as the Bears, so they're went to the top. So I'm sorry.
So the Chiefs Chargers is actually Monday night?
Yeah, the Patriots Eagles game is actually a 3:00 game. Sorry about that, guys. The Bears and Rams game is a Sunday night game.
There we go.
They were hiding at the top there. A big game for the NFC, Nick. 4-5. Are the Bears. They need this game. You can't lose this game, especially to another team that's on the cusp like the Rams. Rams are 5-4 right now. This game is in LA. 6.5 point favorites are the Rams right now. So yeah, tell me what you're thinking right now.
Okay. I was thinking about this because I feel like the Bears and the Bucks, especially when it comes to the fans, because we're all GMs and everything,
sure,
are in the same boat. I listened to Wingo and Golick on, it had to be Friday because Thursday I didn't work, so it was Friday. And they had Tony Dungy on. And there's all this, how Tampa Bay and the Bucks fans are tired of Jameis and he turns the ball over and blah, 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 and this and that.
Yeah.
And then you got the Bears fans that, can't wait to get rid of Mitchell Trubisky and everything. And I'm like one of the few people that's sitting here thinking, I cannot understand why a fan base is so quick to get rid of a 23-year-old quarterback and a 25-year-old quarterback. Yeah. It's not like Mitchell Trubisky's 33 and has no more in the tank. It's not like Jameis is 35 and can't move around the pocket anymore. These are two young quarterbacks. One is kind of really still learning how to be a starter, and one is not only playing in a new system, but at the same breath is a gunslinger, so you're going to have to take the good with the bad, and then on top of that, he's playing with an offensive coordinator who on his first year is calling plays himself, so everybody's still kind of learning.
Yeah.
And what Tony Dungy said, because Trey Wingo asked Tony Dungy, like, how did he work with Peyton Manning? Because people forget, like, first off, and this, I know this much for just me, but when Peyton Manning first came out, I couldn't stand the man. As his career went on, and then he was in Denver.
Yeah, you're right.
And I noticed, I'm like, damn, this man could potentially be the greatest quarterback that ever played. I tell you why.
Yep.
Tom Brady is great. Okay, cool. The only time that Tom Brady ever put up real historic numbers was when some guy who's the greatest wide receiver that has ever played the football field, Randy Moss, was on his team. It's the only time Tom Brady ever put historic numbers in his career. Never mind the rings, because the New England Patriots have had better teams, especially defensively, than the Indianapolis Colts. So I almost don't care about rings.
Yeah.
What I do care about is results. Do you know what Peyton Manning does? Let's take the Denver Broncos, for instance. Demaryius Thomas under Tim Tebow was an average wide receiver at best.
Yeah.
When he joined Peyton Manning, he was a fantasy-loving nightmare.
That's true.
Everyone's like, "Ooh, I gotta get Demaryius Thomas. He was a second-round pick. Gotta get Demaryius. Demaryius is the man. Blah blah blah." This man is catching 16 touchdowns here, 14 touchdowns there, 10 touchdowns here, 1,500 yards, 1,600 yards. You want to know why? Because the greatest quarterback and the smartest quarterback that has ever played the game in Peyton Manning was never given up on. Yeah. And Tony Dungy said when I went there, it was Peyton Manning's 5th year, a la Jameis Winston. He said, I did not give up on Peyton because we saw some great things there, but we had to still show patience for a guy who is one of the best quarterbacks in the game.
Because he had a terrible first couple of years.
Thank you, but nobody wants to talk about that.
Yeah.
Because for some reason, everybody wants to use the New England Patriots as the template of what's supposed to happen with quarterbacks. Yeah. Not everyone can be as lucky as the New England Patriots and have Tom Brady, who comes in and immediately wins Super Bowls, and they're always in the whatever it's called. They're always in the playoffs, and they're always in the Super Bowl, and he's won 6 out of 8 times, and all this other nonsense. Stop trying to build yourself as the New England Patriots and start looking at yourself as Peyton Manning and the Colts, because they could have easily been like the Bucks fans with Jameis and like the Bears fans with Mitchell and said, let's give up on this guy. He's only 25 years old, but he can't win and we can't get to the playoffs and all this other BS that comes with it.
Yeah.
I do not understand for the life of me how fan bases. I mean, I feel bad for Blake Bortles.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I feel bad for Blake.
Yeah.
Because Blake Bortles had, if the problem is his supporting cast gave up on him.
And they were so bad, too. I mean, it's not like he had the wide receivers, the offensive line, the tight ends to really do damage.
You had Leonard Fournette, and once Leonard Fournette stayed healthy, sometimes, God forbid, it made it Blake Bortles was able to make the throws because they had to respect Leonard Fournette, and you saw some of the goodness in Blake Bortles. But everybody was so quick to give up on Blake Bortles.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, the Bears will make an egregious mistake if they gave up on Mitchell Trubisky.
Yeah.
You still got to teach the kid,
Yeah.
okay? First off, the man went from a one-year starter in North Carolina to a half-year starter his rookie year. The Bears, if you want to call it for what it is, overachieved a lot last year. But this year, they're not the same team offensively that they were last year.
Yeah.
Okay, they're not
defensively.
No, they're not.
Yeah.
You're missing Akeem Hicks.
Yeah.
Khalil Mack's not getting into the backfield like he used to. You're missing a few things, but you cannot give up on Mitchell Trubisky, just like the Bucs can't give up on Jameis Winston, because I bet you any money in the world, think about it like this: when Carson Palmer was in his first year under Bruce Arians, they went 3-6 and finished 10-6. The Bucs are almost down the same path they're doing. I feel the same way with Mitch. His confidence is down because who on that offense is going to lift his head and said, "Look, man, we got your back on this." Just come out like someone's got to say something to him. There's got to be some veterans in there.
Yeah,
but you can't give up on them and think that old-ass, aging-ass, broken-down-ass Cam Newton is the reason for the season that's going to change the Bears around.
It's amazing to see that from Bears fans already with this, oh, man, Cam Newton. First of all, Cam Newton's out for the season, right? So you're not getting him this year, and you're already giving up on a team that, by the way, is 4-5 and still has a chance this year.
Yes!
So, you know, and my big thing about quarterbacks is like, it's the toughest, it's the absolute toughest position to play in sports. There's not a ton of guys out there that can play quarterback.
No.
Like, in the world, meaning. Like,
I mean, unless you're some Bears fans, then you want to trade for Taysom Hill.
You want to trade Taysom Hill, or, by the way, you know, we already forgot about how Chase Daniel's the better quarterback. Remember? That? Chase Daniel's the better quarterback, and Mitch is not the guy.
Hey, guys, bring in Chase!
Bring in.
Come on, man, bring in Chase.
You know, and the worst part is when a guy like Mitch has a game like he had last week, you still get the haters coming out and say, this isn't that. You're not going to do. You know what?
Well, we got lucky because Detroit sucks.
One thing I will say is, you know, the Bears team has done a good job of staying behind Mitch in the media. I've been proud of them in that manner, where the defense or Tariq Cohen or some of these other guys have been asked about this. As I'm watching Jared Gordon just get his lights turned out. Oh, my goodness. Charles Oliveira just puts Jared Gordon's lights out, and poor Jared Gordon, who is a great guy. We actually interact on Instagram a lot. He's a really nice guy, but wow, he got his lights shut off, and he was still trying to fight after that. But, yeah, no, I mean, the thing about Mitch for me is...
Oh, he traveled.
Yeah, and they called it, surprisingly. The thing about Mitch for me is he's improving. He's improving at a rate that isn't good enough. That's my problem.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
I can see that.
You're in your second full year as a starter. And last year you made these strides that you're like, oh, these are the type of improvements that you see out of quarterbacks who go on to do big things in the league.
Right.
Let's remember, Jared Goff wasn't that great when he came out. And the next thing you know, now we're looking at Jared Goff. He might be just an average quarterback. You know what I'm saying? Like, so let's not rush to judgment on quarterbacks, guys. You know, quarterback is the one position, I think, on the field that depends the most on other positions. You know, a quarterback is only as good as offensive line. By the way, both of our offensive lines have not been very good this year, both Jameis and Mitch.
No.
They also rely a lot on their wide receivers. By the way, both of our wide receiver corps have had some tough stretches with drops and not really doing a good enough job of running through routes and doing a good job of making sure to hold their wide receivers accountable. Both of our teams are bad at that right now.
Yep.
So, and running back situation is the same. Sort of in limbo of who the starter is and who's going to be this guy and, how are we going to use this guy? So I think right now Mitch is going to take the type of steps that we're going to see normal quarterbacks take.
Right.
What I would like to see from him, though, is put together 2 or 3 of these games and really start to show the type of confidence that you have in yourself and in your teammates, and then we'll talk. But I was very encouraged by last week's game. I can't lie to you and say that I wasn't. I was very encouraged, and I was also very encouraged by the way that Mitch made some throws that he was supposed to make. So
right.
I'm encouraged by that. I still think this is going to be a tough game for the Bears. By the way, the Blackhawks are winning 4-0 against the Predators, guys. So.
Oh, dude, I'm glad you said something because the Rangers are in Florida.
Yes,
crap, dude. I've been sitting here.
Joe Q and his guys, but 4 goals already for the Blackhawks.
Of course, we're losing because our defense sucks.
Oh my goodness! Seabrook with a goal, Kubalik with a goal, Kampf with a goal. Who else has one? So and Gustafson with a goal. But yeah, I'm gonna take the Bears in this one, and I'll tell you why. It's a less homer thing and more. I'm starting to lose faith in the Rams.
I'm with you on that.
I don't necessarily see Jared Goff as this next level quarterback anymore. I don't necessarily see Sean McVay as this next level head coach anymore. I think there's a lot of things that you're seeing in the game plan of the Rams that has been exposed starting from the Super Bowl last year.
Yes.
And now we're starting to see teams just having the same thought process with the Rams. Go ahead, let them do their cute little thing on offense. We'll get them on defense, and by the way, we'll make them turn over the ball once or twice, and we'll make them go 3 and out once or twice, and we'll be good.
Or we'll just let them sit Ty Gurley in the fourth quarter when he's perfectly healthy.
Which is crazy to me. And by the way, Sean McVay to me, he's a guy who hasn't proven it yet. He has had good years in the league, but don't you have to have a couple years of success and consistent success before you start to say, this guy's a genius, we don't question anything he does anymore?
Right.
At this point, it's like same thing with Nagy, what I said before this year, right? Now teams have you on paper. This is your real first year.
Yep.
They're starting to see what teams are doing against Nagy, and they know Nagy now.
Yep.
It's not like Nagy's a secret anymore.
Yep.
So same thing with my boy Sean McVay. I just think right now, schematically, I think the Bears have a good advantage here. I just think we have to stay away from their big playmakers, which is Ramsey and Donald.
Yep.
If we can, right now Montgomery's status is up in the air, but if we can run the ball really effectively like we did in the previous couple games, and then continue this run that Mitch is on, I think the Bears can.
And
win.
the Rams struggle against the run too.
They do, yeah.
For Aaron Donald being, the best player in the NFL.
All you have to do is run it right at him, and for some reason he can't stop you. So.
Yep.
I'll go ahead and take the Bears in that one.
Well, then, because on top of that, though, if you want to be real about it, they miss Ndamukong Suh.
They do. They really do. They needed a space eater next to Donald, and I don't think they took that into account when they brought in.
Especially when Aaron Donald doesn't really run the He's not the nose tackle.
No, he's not. Yeah, he's the outside guy.
He's the end of the 3-4, I guess. So
and they don't. They weren't necessarily doing the best job of running of stopping the run in previous seasons. Now though, they're giving it up at a different level.
At alarming rate.
And to me right now, you have to start to look at what the game plan is on offense. They're no longer this potent offense that's going to score 40 points on you.
Right.
You can stop the Rams if you can get to them. So we'll see what happens. I think the Bears are going to overwhelm them though. I think there's going to be a lot of rushing the passer. I think there's going to be a lot of blitzing in this game. And I think you see Jared Goff have a bad Sunday night football game. Sorry again, guys, that we missed that one. But yeah, Sunday night football in the lights. By the way, the last time these two teams played it was at the Bears were at home, so we'll see how the Bears play.
And they won some defensive battle. It was 13-5.
It was the Bears. Actually, that was one of the games where they kind of blew out the Rams.
Yep.
So yeah, we'll see what happens, but I think a lot of pressure on the Bears this week, man. Both teams are in a tremendous amount of scrutiny right now because they both need wins.
Who's that with the title belt a little bit ago? Is this the 245 card you were talking
this is
about?
245. Yeah, this is going to be a nasty card. I believe Amanda Nunes is on. Yep, Amanda Nunes and Durandamy is technically the headliner. Oh, I'm sorry, no, it's Usman and Covington who's technically the headliner, but there's 3 championship fights on this one. So we'll see Max Holloway fight Alexander Volkanovski. We'll see Kamaru Usman take on Covington, and we'll see Amanda Nunes take on my girl, who I like Jermaine Durandamy, but she's a known steroid user, so we'll see what happens. Hopefully we make it to Saturday, December 14th. But yeah, this card is stacked, Nick. I can't wait for this card. It's gonna be an awesome one. Any hoodles?
Dude, does Olga really have a chance against Amanda Nunes?
So she's a proven kickboxer, but I wouldn't necessarily say she's like the strongest candidate to go against Amanda. The problem is Amanda's just ran through her competition.
Man.
She really hasn't had anybody to
Like
get.
a high night
Cyborg, was an easy fight for her, and now Cyborg's not even in the league anymore. Cyborg's in Bellator, and she's doing her best right now to pitch a Bellator crossover fight with UFC. And by the way, she was originally saying, why don't we just make it me and Amanda at the top of the card? Now, apparently, and this is just something I've read, Elias Cepeda, who's one of the local MMA journalists in Chicago, I read him and he does a really good job. He said now the UFC might be considering doing a Pride-style UFC versus Bellator card where it's like UFC fighter versus Bellator fighter. That would be really interesting. I think that would be great for MMA as a whole. Probably better for Bellator than it is for UFC because UFC is already established. They have nothing to lose at this point. Bellator needs that more, but it would be interesting. But yeah, Amanda Nunes has ran through everybody, so Durandamy is the only one left.
So like, did I read something correctly that Nick Diaz is either close to coming back or it's in the considerations?
So what happened was the week after the BMF fight, Nick Diaz did his first interview in almost 5 years with Ariel Helwani. And he basically came out and said he was really mad and he couldn't sleep because of how his little brother got knocked out and essentially saying because one of Masvidal's new lines that he loves to say is I baptize guys, right? I'm going to baptize you. And he said you don't and honestly, I don't want to come out and be a douchebag and say that I'm making fun of Nick Diaz, but he's really hard to listen to. Nate is too. But Nate is hard to listen to mainly just because he doesn't try. Nick is very hard to listen to for the opposite reason. He's just, Ariel, started the show, hey, Nick, how are you? And then Nick just goes off on a 10-minute tirade of just talking for nonstop. There's really no train of thought there. And I'll be honest with you, CTE is very, very on set there. He has a big problem with like just keeping up with what he's saying. So the interview was really tough, but basically by the end of the interview, his representatives went to Ariel Helwani and said, by the way, if you couldn't tell by him talking, we want Masvidal. They want Masvidal in Dallas Cowboys Stadium next year. I believe the thought process was hopefully either February or March. But again, they want Masvidal, and the thought process is, okay, if Masvidal takes the Nick Diaz fight, we could see the trilogy fight for Nate and Conor after Conor's next fight in January. And then we could see the winner. We could possibly see that four have sort of a carousel of who fights who. So essentially, if Nick Diaz wins the fight against Masvidal, we could see him go against Conor McGregor. We could see him go against a number of people. And if Conor wins against Nate, we could see Nate versus or Conor versus Masvidal. Honestly, Nick, I like this whole thing that the UFC is doing right now, but I also feel conflicted about it. I wish it was a little bit more established. I wish we knew if this guy wins, he's definitely gonna fight for the title next. But it's just so up in the air right now. But yeah, Nick Diaz does want Jorge right now, so we'll see if that happens.
Fair enough, because I thought that Masvidal would have been 100% going against Conor.
Yeah, but Conor's Conor fucked that up. He already announced that he's fighting in January. They don't have an opponent yet, but he knows he's fighting on the night in January. So they already boxed themselves in. So now they'll more than likely fight Cerrone, maybe fight another guy, and then the fight after will come against Masvidal, Diaz, we'll see. But there needs to be a little bit more of a rhyme or reason.
I am so tired of Conor McGregor already, and he hasn't already fought.
I know, it's crazy. And the thing about Conor is, it's like, dude, you haven't even won in the octagon in a long time, bro. Like, you've got to come back and start to show us something.
Hey, I won 2 belts. Okay, so did Mark Coleman. So did Randy Couture.
DC, yeah.
So did DC. Like,
Henry Cejudo. Yeah,
right,
there's like
right.
Amanda Nunes. There's been like 4 in the last 2 years,
right,
bro.
so
That's
you're
over
not
now.
that special, bro.
Yeah,
Sit your stupid ass down.
And I love what Khabib said. He's like, you know what? Have him come back and win 10 fights, and maybe I'll think about fighting him. So Khabib is getting a little cocky now. I like it. But guys, next weekend we're at Reps Place, 3200 Kirchhoff Road in Rolling Meadows. We will we'll cover the Rolling Meadows playoffs next weekend. So stop by and check us out. Again, that's Saturday the 23rd at 5:30 p.m. Follow us on Facebook for all the events. Like and subscribe to the show on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, and go to mackandblack.com. Don't miss an episode again, guys. Tell your friends. Do us a favor. If you are a fan of ours, if you like me, if you like Nick here, you like what we do, tell your friends, share our show out. All the links are at PodRiver.com, guys. Again, if you guys aren't familiar, PodRiver is our network that we work on, and again, they we've got other shows, local level podcasts, local and small business podcasts that Steve runs, and then we've got the Boss to Boss with Miro Wieslow, and of course Mack and Black. So again, check out PodRiver.com, and again, next weekend, Reps Place, 3200 Kirchhoff Road in Rolling Meadows, and we'll be covering the Rolling Meadows playoff next weekend as well. So stop by and check us out. Nick, anything else, my man?
That is it. Hopefully the Knicks will hold on here. They can't stop the 3 for whatever reason.
Hopefully the Blackhawks will hold on to their 4-0 lead. And by the way, the Bulls lost to Brooklyn, so we'll take that L on the chin and keep going. Hopefully we'll start to see the Bulls pick it up like the Blackhawks have.
Yes, sir.
All right, guys. Thank you again. Next week, Reps Place. We'll see you next week. Peace.
Peace.